Oh my god, bro. Like, I gotta receive a phone call. I'm back. Okay.
This story takes place in South Africa, my home country. It happened last year during July.
So you tell your mother I said, hey, fuck you.
Right after I turned 18. I had a 3-week holiday before I had to go back to school, and my sister decided to take me and a few friends to KwaZulu-Natal for a trip to a mountain range. It was me, my sister...
Okay, this is my last time pausing the story. I swear to everything, this is my last time. But I just have to say one thing. I usually do not sit here in the fucking dark and watch scary stories and shit like this. So I'm only doing it for y'all. I swear to God. Me, I'm a bitch. I usually have the lights on and wait till it's morning time to look at these stories. I do not watch this shit by myself.
Kate and my 3 friends, Ashley, May, and Hannah. The last place we visited before we went to the cold mountain range was called Izandlwana, where the Shaka Zulu army fought Britain with many fatalities. We got to the place at around midnight since there was no security. So we decided to explore the grounds and look at the thousands of graves placed around the land. It wasn't until after I asked to give it a rest and find a place to stay for the night that my sister pulled a box out of her bag. It was the infamous Ouija board.
Hell no.
We used to believe in the paranormal side of the world, so all 5 of us decided to play. I mean, it was such a perfect place to do it. So we sat down by one of the bigger graves and started playing. But the board wasn't really doing anything until my sister lost her temper and took her fingers off. The keys started moving around in short circles before going over the letters and spelling out RUNTHEAREHERE. Run. They are here. At first, we were all kind of laughing.
Run, they are here. What the fuck?
We weren't really scared because we'd had a crap ton of alcohol before playing the game and thought it was one of the girls doing it. However, all of a sudden, Ashley stood up, cried out in pain, and she claimed something was stabbing her.
What the fuck?
Help!
That's that spiritual
Help
shit.
me! She screamed, so we immediately stopped playing and went to help her. When she lifted up her shirt, we could see a long and deep scratch that went from where her heart is down to her stomach.
For real, this gotta be
We were
Yoshi,
all shocked, so we left the place in a hurry since the nearest clinic was over an hour away. When we arrived, our situation only got worse, considering we were a group of white girls who only knew how to speak English and a bit of Dutch, while everyone inside of the clinic was a Zulu native and didn't know any English. We couldn't get my friend any help, since neither we nor the nurses understood each other until we lifted up my friend's shirt to show them the wound. We felt so stuffy, and eventually one nurse sterilized her and bandaged her up. However, surprisingly, the next morning when we woke up inside of my sister's van, she was no longer wounded, and it was as if the event didn't even happen. Someone later told us that it might be a Zulu trademark to cut their enemies' hearts from their gut in respect of the body they had killed, preparing them for the afterlife. But who knows? Now, over a year later, none of us truly know what happened.
I don't think I want to keep watching this shit.
I go to university, and they are still my only friends.
Myself.
The memory becomes more and more distant over time, and I sometimes believe that we all just hallucinated. But the one thing for sure is that I will never, ever touch the Ouija board again.
Good. But why is it playing a beat and I'm trying to fuck? Oh, because I got to like listen to songs. Listen to like shit. All right, next one. That story is like a fucking 7 out of 10. Wasn't even that good. Wasn't even that good. Old souls.
It started as a normal. Me, Haley, my mom, and 6 years old, my little sister named Halia, were shopping at the grocery store.
How y'all think that other story was? How y'all rate that other story? Nah, 6 out of 10.
At the grocery
store.
Yeah,
you're right.
And when we got in the car, my sister wanted my mom's phone, so I gave it to her. I looked back, and she was playing Minecraft. It was quiet in the car, and my sister said something that would make me look at her different. She said, "I've been here before." I looked back at her and said, "What do you mean you've been here before, Halia?" She looked at me and said, "Like this Minecraft game. I used to live in the room with a lot of people, at least 80 to 90 people, and dead bodies everywhere." Then Halia looked back at the game playing it. As I look back straight looking at the road, I was so scared, and I look at my mom's face. She was terrified to look at my sister, so we didn't say anything at all halfway home.
Adoption center
we
right
were
now.
3 minutes from home, and my sister did the most weird and scariest thing. She started laughing. As I was afraid to ask why she was laughing, Halia said, "Because they thought I wouldn't survive." Then she goes back to playing the game. When we reach at home, I put the groceries up, and I asked my mom if I could talk to her privately. My sister sitting in my bed, still playing Minecraft. I pull my mom to the bathroom and lock the door behind me. I whispered to my mom like, "Who was that and what the heck is talking about?" My mom replied with, "I don't know." Then Halia said, "I know you're curious, Haley, but just let me tell you about my life and how I survived. So stop whispering to mom about me." And next, "Dana, I know it's been so long. I love you." Me and mom was so shocked because my sister has a speech impediment and she never says my name correctly. Plus, mom turned toward me with a shocked face saying, whispering, "That's your great-grandmother. She used to call me Dana." I slowly unlocked the door and opened it. Me and my mom looked at my sister. Then I say, "How did you survive?" She put the phone, the set down, saying, "Well, we were on this boat and I jumped in the water." Then after that, my sister went back to normal. After that, she was so confused. She said, "How did we get home so quickly? And why are you guys staring at me?" My mom said, "You don't remember what you said?" And she went to her playroom.
This shit is so creepy.
Till this day, I wonder, why does things happen to us?
I don't like that. What y'all rate that story? What y'all rate that story? What y'all think about that story? That shit. 2 out of 10. This shit not really scaring me like that. Like, it's just like shocking me a little bit. 7 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Kind of scary. 6 out of 10. It's not really moving me. Like, I'm not really scared for real. Like, I don't know. I feel like a 3.
When I was 12 years old, my family and I moved to a new house. Even though it was a beautiful house, I was scared of it, especially my parents' room. I used to have awful dreams where I would enter that specific room only to see a dark shadow staring at me. It was a tall shadow. It seemed like a man, but I never saw his face since his whole being was just pitch black. I would close the door to my room since my parents' room was in front of mine and I could easily see
it's just a creeper or something.
One night, I woke up from what seemed like a dreamless sleep, feeling that someone was staring at me. At first, I couldn't see anything. But after my eyes got used to the dark, I saw 2 things. First, my door was open, which wasn't normal since I always closed it at night. And second, there was the shadow I often saw in my nightmares.
Fuck no.
This time, it wasn't in my parents' room. It was in front of my room, just staring at me. I was so scared. I couldn't break eye contact with it, and after what seemed like hours, finally the shadow stopped staring at me and walked to my brother's room.
Imagine Trey looked at us like that, Fry.
I can't remember when I got back to sleep, but only remember waking up, and since then, everything seemed normal. I thought it was only a nightmare and brushed it off. A couple years later, my family and I moved to another state, but we kept the house as a place to visit during the holidays. One day, my uncle had a nasty fight with his wife, and he asked my parents if he could stay at our old house for some time. My parents said yes.
It's the uncle.
So he temporarily moved there for a while. And one day, we visited him for the holidays, and while we were talking, he asked me if I had ever dreamt of creepy shadows in front of my room.
Shit.
My parents laughed, since they knew nothing of what I had seen. I stayed quiet. That night, I talked to my uncle and explained to him what I had seen and what I thought was a nightmare. I was really scared since I had told no one about that nightmare. He listened to me, and after a while, he explained he had seen the same thing just staring at my room. After that, my uncle talked to my parents, and we never visited that house again. My uncle moved back with his wife, and after a religious ceremony to cleanse it, my parents put the house in the market. However, to this day, the house remains unsold. Even though the shadow never hurt any of us physically, I still panic whenever I remember how that thing stared at me, how I felt that there was nothing I could do against it. I don't think I'll ever forget that.
Oh, so it wasn't even a real person. It was just it was like a fucking spirit or something. All right, let's do this one. It's just a creep. Lame. Nah, that shit was.
This story happened to my...
I should have skipped it. You was right. I should have skipped it. Most definitely a creep. Not for real.
Mother when she was pregnant with my eldest sister. She was in her late 20s, and she and my father weren't on good terms. As a result of this, she had to stay at my auntie's house. Just a little detail.
This shit said true story? Yo. Wait, actually? What the fuck? Oh, hell no. See, I don't know about this one. This shit be scaring me. Fuck no.
Beside it with just a little details. As a result of this, she had to...
Pause, alright, I got you. I'll pause it. Yo, hell no. What the fuck? True story. I don't know if I could watch this one. I'm not gonna lie. The voice sounds like my grandpa.
Stay at...
The fuck? What if your grandpa worked for the people that do this shit?
My auntie's house.
Girlfriend fat. Yo.
Just a little detail on auntie's house. It was at the end of the street, and beside it was a huge mango tree. People in the village believed that the tree was haunted because it has been there even before the village was constructed, and who knows its history. My mother didn't believe it and wasn't scared at all. She was staying in a room upstairs alone while her niece was downstairs. As my mother went to bed that night, she had this eerie feeling in her gut, but brushed it off, thinking she was just...
You watching scary stories, animated. Some animated scary stories lately. You should watch
paranoid. She fell asleep as she was tired of carrying the baby around. She woke up to someone whispering into her face. That someone was whispering my father's name. His name is John. So she opened her eyes and was stunned to see a long-ass legged creature right on top of her. According to my mom, he was very, very dark. He had messy blonde hair.
Right.
He smelled very bad and he was wearing stripes.
Looked like your boyfriend.
He was staring at her with his huge eyes, still whispering my dad's name, John. My mom screamed for my niece. And the
it is John. That's your boyfriend's name. That's your boyfriend's name. It is John. That's your boyfriend's name. That's your boyfriend's name. It is John.
The trees. Her niece came in and my mother explained everything that happened. My auntie came home and my mom explained the situation to her. My auntie laughed it off and told her she was being paranoid. But one day as my auntie was in bed, she woke up and saw the same creature on top of her. She was creeped out as fuck and screamed. After this incident, my mom left that house and never came back. I just wonder what that creature wanted and why was he whispering my dad's name?
I will eat your ass.
This happened to my friend Mary when she purchased a house. In 2016, it was December. The house which Mary lived in was a big house with a big living room. It had 2 big rooms. It had 1 basement, a big kitchen, bathroom, and toilet. Mary kind of felt very bad in the house because there was always a bad smell that come from the walls, but she didn't pay attention.
Dead body.
After a day and night, she began to hear footsteps, like someone is walking. After that day and night, when Mary was about to sleep, all photos in living room fall by itself, and Mary couldn't sleep throughout the night after seeing this. After that incident, nothing happened. But after 2 weeks passed, Mary died. The cops searched the whole house. Then they finally go to the basement and find a very horrible thing that gave them a froze and found a big truth about the house that was very shocking. That who was the owner of this house did suicide after 2 weeks when he purchased this house. But he said before doing suicide that whoever will purchase this house will die after 2 weeks. Till now, hundreds of people have died living in this house after 2 weeks. The cops found dead bodies of hundreds of people. I really feel bad for my friend, and I still remember her.
What the fuck is this? Shadow Man.
Hi, my name is Anathanasia, and I live in the Philippines. This is a story by Mom Janessa about a creepy, unforgettable...
This is real because I actually saw this. I saw this before in a news report thingy. I don't read newspaper bills like in a news report thingy. I heard about this one before. I already know what they're talking about.
...day when she was in her teens. My mom lived with her aunts and uncles, and she wanted to visit her family. Her family lived in Valencia on the Boogeyman province of the Philippines. At the side of their house is a bridge, and underneath the bridge is a river. One time, while visiting her family, my mom decided to wash her clothes, and my grandpa told her to wash his clothes too. Decades ago in the Philippines, people usually washed clothes near the river because there was a lack of running water. The river water was also safe to drink, so people tended to live near the river. After my mom prepared the things she needed to wash the clothes, Grandpa helped her carry it all to the river. The river was peaceful and very cold, and the weather was sunny. So it was a good day to wash some clothes since they'd easily dry under the sun. My mom was enjoying washing the clothes by hand when she heard footsteps coming from the bridge. The bridge is made of thick wood, so it makes sounds when someone passes by. My mom was facing the bridge, and she immediately looked up so she could greet the person because it could have been her neighbor. But nobody was there. She looked all along the bridge, but there was no one in sight.
What if it was just the wind?
She continued her work, and she heard another set of footsteps again. She glanced back at the bridge, and still no one was there. She felt a little worried, but my mom is brave, so she let it pass. After she washed all the clothes and hung them up, she heard yet another set of footsteps. She turned her head to the bridge and was shocked because she could hear the footsteps of a person running. But even though the bridge was shaking a bit, no one was there. She was becoming distraught at that moment, but she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened her eyes, she saw a shadow of a tall man. All was black. There was nothing else to see. She panicked and ran back to the house. My grandpa was shocked and asked her, "What's wrong?" She just said, "There was a dog chasing me." My mom went to her room after. 2 days later, my mom was busy getting ready for the day. She was brushing her hair in front of the mirror when, out of nowhere, a shadow
Hell no,
I
it followed her home.
She was startled and looked back and checked the whole room, but no one was with her. She began to brush her hair again, and when she glanced at the mirror, she was terrified when she saw the shadow man right behind her.
Nah, shadow man trying to get crazy in a room.
The door was just to her right. She was so freaked out that she jumped down the stairs and hurt her legs and knees. My grandpa immediately went over to her and asked her what happened. She told him everything about her first meeting with the shadow man at the bridge. My grandpa just had a serious look on his face and carried Mom to the wooden sofa and treated the bruises she had. But then my grandpa told her, "I know that shadow man." My mom was confused and asked him, "Who is he, Dad?" Grandpa gulped and said, "He was our neighbor Gilbert's son, Andrew. He died 3 years ago. It was raining very hard, so he was running as fast as he could to get home. He ran across the bridge, and when he reached the front of our house, a bolt of lightning came down and struck him, and it burned him to ashes."
What the fuck?
My grandpa had a very sad look on his face. My mom was shocked and speechless. The people who saw him die were startled and shouted. They called Gilbert and only saw his son's ID that was left half burned. Mom was at a loss for words and sad because of what happened. After Grandpa treated her injuries, he told her to just rest here on the sofa until her sister got back home so she could be with someone in their room. On the next day, our neighbor Gilbert happened to visit. My grandpa told him about what my mom encountered, and Gilbert apologized because she was scared by his son.
For real.
Mom just accepted the apology and wanted to rest more. After a week, my mom's legs and knees were feeling better, so she went back to her hometown, Davao, but she will never forget.
Oh my gosh, this shit just scared me like so crazy. That shit just scared me, like it just like pumped up my heart a little bit. Oh my gosh, please don't tell me I'm the only fucking one. Yo, that shit just scared me a little bit.
This isn't the most interesting story ever, but I thought I would send it in anyway. I'm also not using my friends' real names while telling.
I might set out this one. I was attacked at a pharmacy.
This happened a little over a decade ago when I was an undergrad. I worked as a pharmacy technician my sophomore through senior years. At a pharmacy, of course, you have regulars. One regular was Joe, a mid-30s man with long straggly hair and an affinity for bizarre outfits.
Fuck no.
He was very sweet, but also very ill, mentally and physically. He was on a cocktail of antipsychotics, anti-anxiety, antidepression, etc. Also, he was on medicine for AIDS. Normally Joe would come in with his mother, who took care of him. However, his mother was older and had her own health problems. Towards the end of my junior year, Joe started coming in by himself, so he would walk from his home or take a taxi. Joe told me frequently that I looked like a young Michelle Pfeiffer, that I should be in LA, yada yada. Aside from the curly blonde hair, I never really saw the resemblance, but okay. I was polite, told him thanks, and asked him how his mother was. Made general small talk while I rang up his scripts. He never gave me the beware vibe. My senior year, Joe's mother came in without him and told us that Joe wasn't doing well. He was refusing to take his antipsychotics, and she was getting too old to defend herself if Joe went into a rage. She was having him placed in a home for patients like Joe. I didn't know until that day that Joe was technically under guardianship. The courts and his doctors deemed him too ill to make important financial and medical decisions. Joe's mother gave us the medical release so that Joe's new home could send their staff to pick up his medicine. We didn't see Joe for about 4 months. It was the end of my senior year, a Friday night. Just me and the pharmacist were working because Friday nights are slow. I was reading a magazine when I heard, "Hey, Michelle." I'm not Michelle, so I didn't look up. Then angry, "Michelle!" and a slap on the counter in front of me made me look up. It was Joe. He was bleeding profusely and left a bloody handprint on the counter. I was shocked, and all I could do was slowly back away to put distance between myself and the very bloody Joe. The pharmacist came rushing over to ask Joe what he was doing here. His home had picked up his meds on Tuesday. "I wanted to see Michelle. I miss her." Then he started opening the waist-high door to get behind the pharmacy counter. The pharmacist called the store manager and told the manager to call 911, while she called Joe's mother.
Michelle, come here. Give me a hug.
No, I don't think that would be appropriate, Joe.
Give me a hug.
Then he just started screaming this over and over and attempting to climb over the counter. The pharmacist told me to go into the back storage room and lock the door. This just pissed Joe off. He started picking up items, which covered them in blood, and threw them at us. It was a chaotic mess. A patron was about to attempt to subdue Joe, but both the pharmacist and I both shouted not to touch him due to him being covered in blood and positive for HIV.
Oh, fuck no.
We told the small crowd that had formed to leave for their safety as Joe was flinging items and getting blood everywhere. Eventually, the police and EMTs arrived. The store manager must have explained the blood and HIV issue, because they had on protective gear, long gloves, face masks, etc., and were able to forcibly sedate Joe. The store had to be shut down, and a special cleaning crew had to come in and clean the entire store. Joe's mother came to apologize after the store reopened. She explained that Joe had developed an obsession for me and grew angrier and angrier each month when he was not allowed to tag along to pick up his meds. He attacked one of their home residents the night of the incident, so the home grounded him and sent him to his room. Joe broke his window and crawled out through the broken glass and walked to the pharmacy. The home did not know he had broken out until his mother called frantically. His mother was considering suing the home for negligence, and she had moved Joe to a more secure mental health facility.
But where's the scary shit at?
1. The man.
Like, bro, ain't none of this shit scary. Where's the scary shit at?
There was a famous restaurant in our neighborhood. It was a restaurant that had amazingly delicious back ribs, and the taste was unrivaled. I was addicted to the taste and visited the restaurant every single day. Then one day, the owner of the restaurant said to me,
"Our precious regular customer has arrived. Then we should offer some precious meat. A premium quality meat, which is really hard to obtain, came in today.
I don't like that.
It's so delicious that nothing compares to it."
The owner patted my back while talking. I was a bit offended, but I just didn't make a great deal of it, because I thought I became close to him. I said I wanted to try it, so he led me inside, and there was another restaurant inside. There were several people who looked like VIPs sitting at the table. After a while, the food came out, and it was a small amount of about 4 pieces of back ribs. Then people immediately picked it up without saying anything and ate like crazy. They even licked the bones like a dog that had been starved for several days. And they had a conversation I couldn't understand.
"There's a kid I want to eat these days, but how can I catch him? If I catch him, will you cook him at a low price?" "We could, but we'd have to hire a professional hunter to keep him out of trouble."
Then one of them looked at me and said,
"Would you like to donate some bones?"
I was bewildered and said,
"What?"
They suddenly took off their shirts and showed their backs. They were dense in their flesh, as if several back ribs were missing. I screamed in surprise, and they chuckled as they said,
"Since you ate one today, you should donate one. Isn't this a world where we help one another?" Ha 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 ha.
They were staring at me with creepy eyes, which gave me a bizarre vibe. I was seized with fear and left in a hurry, just saying that I've enjoyed my meal. The owner of the restaurant continued to suggest that I sign up for the VIP membership.
So you went back to the fucking restaurant like a dumbass? Like, why would you do that? Are you fucking stupid?
I didn't go to that restaurant for several days, but one day, the taste of the back ribs occurred to me, and I couldn't stand it, so I had to go there. I was eating at the restaurant, but I felt something strange, so I turned around, and behind my back, the restaurant owner was holding a knife to my back. When I asked with fright what he was doing, he said with drowsy eyes,
"Give me just one."
I left the restaurant with goosebumps, and I didn't go to the restaurant since then. Then one day, I saw that the restaurant was closed when I was passing by. So I asked the owner of the store next door if something had happened, and he said,
Someone brought a knife to the store a while ago and created a disturbance, and 3 diners were rushed to the emergency room. But what was creepy was that everyone was stabbed like crazy, only in the back.
The culprit was arrested, but reportedly shouted till the end that he had asked everyone for their consent to stab them.
A few months ago, I received a call from an unknown number. At first, I thought it was someone calling by mistake, and I ignored it. But the calls continued. One day I answered the phone and asked, "Who is this?" A man responded,
Are you curious about who I am? Everyone who knows my identity will die.
I angrily responded, "Hey, and people who prank call me, I will also kill." But he ignored me and continued talking.
Come out to the front of your yard, of your house, at midnight. Then you will know who I am.
I got annoyed, so I just hung up. But the calls kept coming, so I blocked the number. A few days later, I received a call from another unknown number, and I heard the same man's voice. I got angry and cussed him out. Then he said,
Do not be angry. If you get angry, you'll get cancer.
His prank calls continued for weeks, and eventually I got so angry that when he called one night, I immediately yelled at him. I'm going to come to you right now, and I'm going to rip off all your fingers so you won't be able to dial the phone.
Oh, calm down. The human body is precious. I'm in a white van on 5th Street. Come to me.
The phone suddenly hung up. No matter how much I thought about who was making the prank call, no one came to mind. I was so angry that I decided to go see the guy and show him how scary my fists could be. I called my friends, Carlos and Mason. It was at night, and these two, for a lack of a better term, were tough guys, sturdy, young men, if you know what I mean, who had nothing to fear. When we arrived on 5th Street, there was no one to be seen. But there, in the middle of the street, was parked a large white van. However, the tinted windows were so dark, we couldn't see inside. We yelled at the van.
Come on, get out of here!
And that's when we got a call. And there and then I heard it, that familiar voice.
3 precious items delivered to me. I could not be more happy right now.
My friends, they went to the van, pressed their faces against the windows, and tried to look inside. At that moment, a window rolled down, and 2 muscular arms as thick as pumpkins appeared and hit Carlos and Mason in the face, causing them to fall backwards, like helpless dolls. With a loud thud, they hit the ground, twisted like squids. Then the large man loaded Carlos and Mason into the van and drove off. Everything happened so quickly, as if it all happened within 3 seconds or so. I quickly called the police, but the van had no numbers on the license plate. The police searched for the van, but it was nowhere to be found. I was in a huge panic, and I was shaking uncontrollably all night long. The next day, I got another call from an unknown number. It was him.
Oh, I was surprised. The items were in better condition than I expected. Carlos has a crystal clean liver, and Mason has very hearty, healthy kidneys. Thanks to these, I earned $100,000. Now, let's have a party. Come to me. You know the place where we met yesterday. Come at 10 o'clock tonight. Your friends, they are still here, but a little indisposed. Kinda having trouble breathing.
I started crying. I swore at him, but then he hung up. I called the police and told them about the call and the location. Then at 10 p.m., I went back to 5th Street. However, the van that was there quickly sped off as soon as the police pulled up. They took off and chased the van. A couple hours later, I got the call. It was him.
Oh, I really want those prime organs of the policemen who are following me right now. I'm sure I can sell them all.
A few days later, the police station contacted me. They told me that the police officers who had chased the van that day had gone missing. I was speechless. I was in shock. A few days later, I received a text message from an unknown number with a photo attached. In the photo, there were men lying on an operating table, and next to them were men wearing surgical gowns and masks, holding tens of thousands of dollars in an open briefcase. The message read, "Sold to police officers." I was so scared out of my mind. I begged my parents to move away, right away. My parents, they also felt the seriousness of the situation, and so within weeks, we moved away. And at the same time, I changed my phone number. I was so relieved that I was now free from those calls from that man. But one day, I saw a white van parked in front of the house I moved to. It was stopped there for some time, and then it drove off. The next day, I went to view the spot where the van was standing, and there, on the ground, was a photograph. I picked it up to get a closer look. There in the photo were two unknown people, but written on the bottom of the pic was Carlos and Mason saved 2 lives. The shock shook me to my core. A few weeks later, on the evening news, a report came the organ harvesters had been caught. However, the bodies of Carlos and Mason were never found. Still to this day, I continue to suffer from severe trauma. Luckily, the prank calls had stopped, but still, the inner panic was always on, 24 hours a day.
Bro, probably gonna never
6
buy a
months
phone
have
again.
passed since the incident, but what is still scary is that a van without license plates still appears in front of my house from time to time. Every time that van appears, a rotten smell emanates within the air. Police continue to search for the vans, but with no luck and no clue of identities. I no longer leave the house without extreme fear of what could happen to me.
Our dad's shoes. Okay.
A few days ago, my dad lost his shoes at a restaurant.
Anybody still up,
When he
please?
checked the CCTV...
Before I play this shit, is anybody still up, please? Because this shit like it's going to be scary. This video look like it's going to be scary.
He saw that an old man went outside wearing his shoes. At first, my dad decided to just think that he made a donation. But the next day, a package arrived at his company office. As he opened the box, he saw a new pair of the exact same shoes that he had lost the day before. And the sender was unknown. Let's think about it. My dad lost his shoes just yesterday, but when he checked the delivery date, it was dated a few days ago.
How the fuck that happened?
Dad was just satisfied with the new pair of shoes that he received, but my mom and I are still feeling uncomfortable and weird about it. I mean, who would send shoes to you for free and for no purpose at all?
In my ear.
What a weird situation.
That was so
This happened a few days ago. I found a cell phone in the corner of my bed while cleaning my room. Of course, it was not mine, and it didn't belong to any of my friends either. So I turned on the cell phone to check what was in it, and I was left speechless. Well, I've never seen that cell phone while living in this house for several years. I found it just today. But when I checked the phone's recent call history, one was made just yesterday. If someone knows the answer to this, please let me know. What should I do with this cell phone now?
Fuck.
It seems like growing a terrarium is in fashion now, but I threw out my terrarium a few days ago. One day, I bought a terrarium at a store while heading home. I put it next to my bed and fell asleep. The next morning, I saw a girl lying next to me on my bed. And the scariest part was that her neck was halfway turned. But as soon as I jumped up, screaming, she was already gone. At first, I thought it was just a nightmare or some kind of sleep paralysis. A few days later, I had a dream this time, and I was inside of the terrarium. I was on something like a big hill, and dolls made of bones were digging through the soil of the garden. As soon as I stepped closer, I could see the bones on the ground. Then I woke up from my dream in fright. Because I felt uncomfortable thinking about the woman I saw a few days ago, I went into the bathroom with a terrarium. I started taking all the plants and moss out of the glass. You know, moss is usually very easy to peel off. However, this one didn't come off easily. It was as if the roots of the plant grew so deep that it felt like they were stuck to the soil. I was about to turn on the water and wash the roots, and at that moment, little white pieces rattled and were drained down the sink.
Bones.
What was that? Suddenly, I was struck with fear. I couldn't even think of washing it anymore. Eventually, I had to throw the plants outside. What were those white pieces I saw? What if they were real bone fragments? It happened when I was in middle school. One day, 2 of my classmates committed suicide together on the roof of an apartment complex. Everyone in the class wondered why they did that and felt sorry for them. And a few days later, we received a group photo from our school trip. The moment we looked closely, we found something unbelievable. Some of the students were screaming, and some were crying. It was insane. When I looked at it, it was really, really weird. The 2 friends who committed suicide together were standing next to each other, and their eyes were looking upwards the same exact way. It was strange enough to make the viewer feel unpleasant. Well, eventually our teacher ended up burning the picture. What was up with that picture? I have no clue at all.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that ending one was kind of crazy a little bit. That kind of made me want to get up and turn on my lights, I'm not gonna lie.
I work at a small grocery
Behind
store.
me, yo.
The owner of the store was a man named Randy, and one day he
This
told
nigga
me a
just got me.
strange
What
story.
the fuck?
20 years ago, Randy worked at a grocery store in the same neighborhood. Back then, there was a coworker named Curtis, and the two became friends as they worked together. One day, Curtis confessed that he had murdered someone before, and when Randy scoffed at him, thinking it was a joke, Curtis said it is true, and he doesn't get arrested by the police, even if he kills people. So when Randy told him to stop joking, Curtis said he would prove it. One day, while the two were looking for a target, they found a man walking alone in the alley, and Curtis abducted and murdered him. Randy said this is all he knows. He said he has no idea what Curtis did to the man. After a while, a man in the neighborhood was reported missing. The police broke in and interrogated Curtis, but there was no evidence against him. So Randy kept asking Curtis how he did that, but he didn't tell him anything. After all, time passed by and Randy felt a sense of guilt. However, he didn't have the courage to report the incident because if he does, he would make himself an accomplice. Randy told me it has already been 20 years, warning me to always watch out for people. It is hard for me to believe what he said. I just thought he made up the story. Then one day, a man named Curtis dropped by our store. Randy greeted Curtis and introduced him to me. I felt a sense of uneasiness. He is that murderer? He was an average-looking man. He was rather kind-looking. Curtis greeted me with a relaxed face.
That teddy bear say hi to you. It don't even talk. Well, no, it does talk. But this is a bad bear. That teddy bear behind me a cuss. If I press the paw on it, it's gonna like start saying a whole bunch of cuss words.
While Randy was away,
it's Ted. Y'all know who Ted is?
Curtis, "Hey, there is something that Randy told me. Is it true?" Curtis suddenly stiffened and asked what I'm talking about. I hesitantly said, 20 years ago. Then Curtis cut me off, saying, "Oh, of course that's a made-up story. Does that make sense?" Then he got up from his seat with a grave face. After a while, on his way out of the store, he said, "Would you like some candy?" Then he handed me a piece of candy wrapped in a transparent paper. I took it, but I didn't eat it. He kept looking at me, as if demanding me to hurry up and eat it. As I refused to eat, he asked for it and took it back. From that day on,
drugs.
Curtis kept coming to the store,
It gotta be drugs.
approaching me every time. He kept asking me to go for a walk or go out to eat, but I constantly refused him. Then Randy came to me one day and said, "Looks like you've become a target of Curtis. Run away. Don't ever come back here again. Go far away to another neighborhood. Don't let him find you." I actually quit working after a few days. Fortunately, I no longer had to run into Curtis, but endless fear and doubt lingered in my mind. But after a while, I heard news that Randy was missing. The police found that Randy had last left the store with Curtis and started investigating Curtis. And finally, they found Randy's hair in Curtis's house. However, no matter how hard they searched Randy's body, they just couldn't find it. After persistent investigation, the police finally found something in Curtis's house. There had been a hidden space in the ceiling of his house. In the ceiling, there laid Randy's body.
Damn.
Also, there was a concrete wall. When the wall was drilled, white bones and corpses were found. The DNA test of the bone revealed that it was the man who was missing 20 years ago. Curtis was sentenced to life in prison.
Oh, hell no. Mm-mm. Alright, I never saw this shit before. I don't know why I say I watched it. I never saw this shit before. I probably skipped through it real quick to see if
One of my friends was living in a dormitory for a while. He ended up renting a room after fighting with his roommate, who did not get along well. The house was very cheap, near the school, and the transportation around it was quite comfortable.
Alright, bet.
So he signed the contract right.
See, you're not really easy to impress. That's what I learned about you. You're not really easy to impress. So for you to say that this is kind of scary, it's gonna be good. Oh shit.
Near the school, and the transportation around it was quite comfortable. So he signed the contract right away, saying he was lucky. I was doubtful of the ridiculously cheap price, but shrugged it off, thinking, hope everything's okay. But nothing much happened for a year. However, I couldn't see my friend at some point. He was not seen not only in the classroom, but also in frequently visited restaurants, bars, or anywhere else at all. First of all, I began to worry about him. Thinking there might be something urgent going on in his house, I kind of put down my worries. It had been more than 5 days. Being nervous, I ended up going to his house. However, there was no answer from inside, no matter how many times I knocked and called his name. Thinking he might have really gone to his home, I was about to turn around, and I inadvertently turned the doorknob of his house. But somehow the door was open. "Hey, are you in there?" The moment I went inside, I couldn't move at all, getting goosebumps all over my body. The walls of the living room were covered with blood. Strangely, there were countless bloodstains on the walls of the height of the doorknob only, as if they were dotted with some kind of red paint. At that moment, I noticed that someone who looked like my friend was curled up in a blanket on the bed. I headed to the bed carefully. "Hey, I was worried. What happened?"
Now you know damn well there's something
Saying
that's way
this,
bad
I
underneath
tried
that
to roll up the blanket with one hand, but it didn't go up easily. It felt like the blanket had attached to something, so I tried to lift it with both hands. The moment I lifted it, it fell off with a sticky noise. And it was my friend, who was dead with blood all over his body. After his blood flowed from the body and hardened, the blanket and body were stuck together. His eyes were wide open, and he seemed to be in extreme fear right before he died. I screamed and immediately reported it to the police. They initially suspected me, who was the first discoverer, but soon after, when the autopsy and investigation were over, they gave me the details. The cause of his death was excessive bleeding. The other part of his body was perfectly fine, and he had no stab wounds or cuts. But every second joint of his 10 fingers was torn out. All the blood on the wall belongs to my friend, and almost half his blood was gone.
Damn.
It was concluded that he died of excessive bleeding while tapping and scratching on the wall, so that his fingers all torn out. It didn't make sense. Perhaps he saw something in the room and found a doorknob to escape, but couldn't open it. The blood was covered on the wall only, because he knocked the wall about the height of a doorknob frantically. And later, he hid under the blanket for some reason, but eventually died because of too much bleeding. Then, what was it my friend did see in his room?
That shit's scary. He saw something demonic was in that room. But nah, I can't imagine that, bro. That shit fucking crazy. The true bubble tea story.
Hi. To start off, I'm a pretty short girl with brown hair, and my roommate is pretty tall with blonde hair. This story happened a year ago. I had just moved to Canada for my film studies and had found a student residence where I had met my now best friend, that I'll call Christina for the story, and 2 other roommates.
For real, of course it's blonde.
Christina and I really liked going out when we were bored or tired of staying in.
So
most of the time, we'd go out at night since that was when we were mostly bored. One night, around 3 a.m., we decided to go out for a walk downtown and decided to go to Chinatown. The streets were pretty empty, apart from a couple people that were mostly going home after a long shift. The streets were glowing with all the lanterns and a couple shops that were closing at the time. At the time, I had a pack of cigarettes in my bag since I had a movie where I needed cigarettes as props. As we were walking down the street, we noticed a weird man, bald in his late 30s, standing ahead of us, right at the end of a dark alley. He approached us and asked us if we, by chance, had a lighter.
Oh, for real, trying to go shit is scary as fuck. It is. It really is. I'm not even gonna lie to you, it's scary as fuck.
I told him we didn't, but it did bring back to mind that pack of cigarettes that I had. So I offered him the pack since I'm not a smoker and wasn't going to use them anyway. He smiled and thanked us as we started to make our way down the road. After a couple minutes, I felt uneasy and peeked behind me to see the man staring at us from afar, but brushed it off. After a while, Christina tapped me on the shoulder, telling me to look behind me in a subtle way. I turned around to see the same man 20 feet away from us, walking slowly in the same direction. Christina and I noticed a bubble tea store ahead that was still open but was about to close. The bubble tea store had a big glass window where you could see the streets. We went in to get a drink, and while waiting, the weird encounter wasn't on our mind anymore. 10 minutes later, I was looking out the window when the man suddenly walked in front of the window and stopped, staring right at us. He placed both hands against the window, looking at us with wide eyes. He then decides to come in and looks at the cashier and asks her, "So what is this?"
For real,
the cashier said, "It's a bubble tea store, but we're closed now." He stood there staring at her without saying anything.
He's so great.
The cashier said, "We're not taking any orders. We're closed." Me,
sick.
Christina, and the cashier all looked at each other, sensing something was off. He then turns to me and says, "See you momentarily,"
with
the
fuck?
creepiest smile I've ever seen before heading out. We all stood there, frozen, not knowing what to do, so we decided to wait it out a bit. 5 minutes later, we saw him peeking through the window, waiting to see when we were going to go out, and hid back to the side. Christina and I decided to go to the cashier and ask her if she had a back door we could leave from. She said yes and led us to the back door that led to a dark alley.
Why they ain't call the police while they was in
Our only
here?
way home was through the front street, where the man was. We started making our way through very slowly until we made it to the same road, but a little further than where the bubble tea store was. Once there, we ran as fast as we could to the nearest place we could hide. I peeked over my shoulder to see him sprinting towards us.
No. Oh, fuck no.
After a while of running, we lost him at a karaoke bar that was still open, where we decided to stay a couple hours before heading home to make sure he wouldn't be there anymore. But it kept me thinking, what would have happened if we would have left through the front door?
This happened only 3 weeks ago. I've thought about it often, and I know without a doubt, me and my patient were almost prey to a predator. I work for my state, I work with people with substance abuse disorders, the mentally ill, and to a lesser degree, those with slight developmental delays. My role with the developmentally delayed is similar to a lower-ranked social worker. One thing I have to verify is that the participant is able to achieve their own personal goals set for that year, similar to an IEP in public schools. One of my patients has a goal to walk and or hike at least 1 mile 3 times a week. When I made my visit to her home, walking and hiking was what I needed to see her achieve. So she took us both on a walking and slight hiking trail nearby. Her and I are actually similar ages, ours being 40. As we were walking the trail, we get to a point that was much more isolated. We were no longer walking the trail that loops around a neighborhood pond with many people, but we were on a trail that took us through the woods in a cotton field. Her and I were walking and talking when she suddenly stopped walking. I looked at her, and just as she went to say, "I have a bad feeling," I had an overwhelming feeling myself that someone was watching us. Due to her development delays, I felt more concerned for her welfare than my own. It's hard to explain, but I didn't feel fear. I felt a feeling of protection for her. I looked behind us because I heard the sound of leaves crunching, and sure enough, a guy who looked to be in his 30s is suddenly coming out of the woods, and he's slowly creeping up towards us.
Why do they always just go to the woods?
This guy to
bro, I
magically
can't go
come
to
out
the
of
woods
and creeping
unless I'm
up.
like a large ass
I knew
group,
whatever
like
he
a
wanted
very
was
big,
nefarious.
very big group. For real.
I told her to continue walking.
Where all the ghost shit
I
at?
gave her a head start. I don't know why I even did this, but I just completely turned myself around, stopped, and I looked straight at him. I just stared. I didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. But as soon as we locked eyes, it was as if he realized, now they know I'm back here. Because he froze and stopped walking towards us. I kept staring at him, and then I started to walk back towards my patient so he understood my eyes were on him. Then as I walked backwards, I looked over to see my patient, looked back at him, and he disappeared as fast as he came, back into the woods. If he had simply wanted to walk the nature trail, why did he stop as soon as I turned around and stared at him? Why didn't he just continue walking and pass us? It was evident to me that this guy was waiting and watching for a woman or women to come down the isolated trail. The fact that he emerged from the woods when he did made it clear that he had been hiding and stalking. I will forever be convinced that my patient's bad feeling and my own feeling of being watched saved one or both of us from whatever that man...
Bro, creepy as fuck, bro. I'm sorry. This shit, that wasn't even scary at all. 0 out of 10 wouldn't recommend it. Would definitely not watch again.
Hi. To start off, I'm a pretty short girl with brown hair, and my roommate...
Okay, here go one. The mom. True. Oh my gosh, bro. Why do I have to be true? Damn.
Hello. My name is Juliana.
Mama.
I am currently 13 years old with dark brown hair and dark brown eyes. I will admit, this isn't the scariest of stories, but it still confuses me to this day. This happened to me in mid-2017. For some context, my mom works in a job where she has to travel a lot. So, a few days before this happened, she said she had a trip and she would be gone for a few days. I was pretty sad, but I knew it was just a business trip.
She at the crib with me. That's where she at. Shit. I'm playing. It's a real story. I forgot.
And she would be back soon.
Nope.
A few days passed, and my sisters, dad, and I were just having fun. Going out, watching movies, eating snacks, the usual. Finally, the day arrived that my mom would finally be back. I was having some trouble sleeping for a few weeks, so I was lying in my bed, unable to sleep. Then, I heard the door open and heard footsteps. But this is when it got weird. It sounded like men's footsteps,
like an anime or something like that.
And then it just stopped. I was very confused, but played it off as our neighbors. I lived in a townhouse, so it made sense in my 9-year-old head. Finally, at around 2 a.m., I heard a woman's footsteps and saw a woman on the top of the stairs. She was wearing a pencil skirt, and it looked identical to my mom. My mom's
fuck
favorite
no.
type of skirt is a pencil
I bet you still hitting that. You still rocking with that.
skirt.
Fuck no.
So naturally, I thought that woman was her. I wanted to go up to her and hug her, but I had a feeling that she was exhausted, so I let her walk into the bedroom. However, about an hour later, I heard the door downstairs open, and I went downstairs and turned on the light. There was my mom. She asked me what I was doing up.
Oh,
And I lied to her, saying that I was waiting for her. I still think about this from
The
time.
body matters. Now she like I was still smashed. So you would smash a ghost bitch? Like a creepy ghost bitch? Oh, hell no. Oh, fuck no.
Inside,
Fuck
I was
no.
panicking. Who or what was that lady? And why did
Fuck
she look like my mom? Did I miss
That's what you fucking... Hell
her so much that I started hallucinating? I'm so grateful that I decided to stay in my bed and not go up to her. I still wonder what I would have seen if I had gone up to that lady.
My mom has a strange gift. Alright, let me see this. It may say that I watched them with the red line, but I probably just skipped over. Like, I probably just skipped over it to make sure that it has no TOS in it. I made sure to like them also so I can watch them for stream.
This is a true story about my mother. Naturally, most people believe that their parents are unique or special, and I'm no different. However, when I was around 16, I discovered that my mom was special in a very different way. My mom has the ability to predict death. I know that to most people, something like this sounds impossible or made up from a movie.
She told me I will die
but
tomorrow.
there's
I'm
no
crying.
logical explanation for what she's seen. When she was in her early 20s, she had a dream of a closed coffin and a voice telling her,
"You know who it is."
A week later, my grandmother dropped dead from a heart attack.
Damn.
As creepy as this prediction is, there's one that still gives me shivers down my spine. One day, a friend introduced her to a cousin of theirs who had just given birth to a newborn baby. The night after they all had dinner together, my mother had a dream. In the dream, she saw a baby lying on its back, smiling and giggling.
Damn.
Suddenly, a large hand began to slowly wrap its fingers around the infant's neck. My mother awoke in a panic, unable to get her dream off her mind. To her horror, she received a terrible phone call. The newborn baby she had met only days before had died.
Damn, they done got this nigga,
The
bro.
dream she had the night before wasn't just a random nightmare or her brain playing tricks on her.
Damn.
It was yet another premonition, the second one she had since my grandmother. Though this story happened years ago, my mother's spine-chilling ability still hasn't stopped. Just days ago, a member of our church passed away due to a brain aneurysm. When my mother heard the news, she told me that weeks before it happened, she kept hearing a voice in her head that wouldn't go away. It whispered,
"Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death."
Did they just take... Wasn't that from Coolio? Do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death? I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left, because I've been blessed and it lasted so long that if my mind thinks that my mind is wrong, because I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Maybe treated like a punk, you know, that's unheard of. Yo, that's from Coolio. That's from that. Been spending most that nights living in the... Yeah, that's from... Yeah, I know I'm not tripping. I know I'm not tripping. Yup, alright, bet. Yup, I just had to make sure, because I fucking knew it. There's no way that nigga really made a fucking, no way he did that. Oh, he didn't even say true story by that one, actually. He didn't even say, true story, actually. So, yeah, he probably was just making that one up, because that was from Coolio. Pet shop. We just do pet shop.
This is a true story about what a Japanese monk experienced when he was a college student. He was a student in the Buddhist department of a university in Saitama. His father was a monk, but he was the second son and didn't have a temple to inherit. So he enrolled in the Buddhist department and lived in a dorm for Buddhist students. It wasn't an easy lifestyle because he had to keep up with his studies and train to be a monk at the same time. He was very tired of the daily routine of waking up at 5 a.m., getting water sprayed, chanting Buddhist scriptures, going to school, etc. To relieve stress, he would take a walk around the university dorm, but there was no entertainment facilities around the dormitory, and there was nowhere to chill. There was a pet shop about 4 kilometers away, so he would go there with a friend to relieve stress. One day, he was playing with a big dog and taking pictures. Then suddenly, the owner came out from inside the shop angrily saying, "Who told you to take pictures?" and scolded him. "You didn't take pictures of people, did you?" The monk was taking pictures with a disposable camera at the time, and he was so frightened that he told the owner that he didn't take pictures of people, but he would just give him the camera anyway. The owner replied that it was okay if he didn't need to take pictures of other people. The monk apologized one last time in Kansai dialect, and then was scared and wanted to go home. But suddenly, the owner's attitude changed dramatically. He asked where he was from, and when the monk said he was from Kyoto, he said he was from there too, and seemed to be delighted. He wanted to chat and led him to a small house next to the pet shop and told him stories about himself. He used to run a pachinko parlor, and he was happy to meet someone from his hometown and asked the monk to be his friend. When he realized that the monk was a Buddhist student at the nearby university, he even made him a job offer. "Can you help me with my pet shop and walk the dog for 15 minutes twice a week and talk to me in our dialect afterwards?" He offered to...
He kind of nice, but everybody that got like the gray, what's it called? It's always usually the bad person. But we'll see what's going on. But this certain YouTuber, if he looked nicer, he would. Yeah. This YouTuber who make these always make the bad person gray.
To pay him 150,000 yen, which is about $1,100 for the job.
What a creep.
Which sounded
creeps, not
like an amazing offer. So the monk took the job. However, his friend stopped him because he thought it was weird. So he told the man that he would ask his dorm teacher first and then decide. The man said okay and brought out some canned coffee to let them choose one. The monk picked a can and his friend refused. When he got back to the dorm, he asked the teacher about the job. The teacher got really mad at him because even though he was studying Buddhism, he still had that greed inside him. The monk went back to the pet shop to decline the job offer. The man said he understood and brought out some canned coffee again, making him choose one. The monk chose one, drank it, and returned to the dorm. After that day, the monk was busy and didn't go to the pet shop. Eventually, he had to move to Tokyo, so he went to the pet shop one last time to say goodbye to the man. The man was very sorry to hear the news because it was the last time. He brought out several canned coffees and let him choose one. The monk chose one and drank it on the spot. Then the man suddenly asked, "You said you were a monk. Is there a real God or Buddha?" The monk replied that he was practicing because he believed so. When he heard the answer, he offered him another can of coffee. The monk refused and left. That was the last time they ever met. 3 years later, the monk in Tokyo received a phone call from his dorm teacher telling him that the pet shop owner was a serial killer. The owner of the pet shop was responsible for a series of murders that caused an uproar in Japan at the time, and one of his murder philosophies was to kill those who are greedy. The teacher told him this and said that if he had accepted that part-time job back then, he would have died. The monk was creeped out by the call, and he later learned something else from an article. When the serial killer was interviewed in jail, he told the reporter that he thinks there is a God or Buddha. The reporter asked him why, and he said, "I used to own a pet shop in Saitama, and I killed a guy. Then a monk came to visit, and I served him coffee. With 4 out of 5 cans poisoned and 1 unpoisoned. The monk came back 3 times, and all 3 times he chose the non-poisoned one. I even offered him another can at the last time, but he refused. Maybe there really is a God. Maybe he was protected by a God." This is a true story that happened in Japan between Sakine, the perpetrator of the Saitama pet shop serial murders, and Mika Duan, a monk. The killer, Sakine, was very famous in Japan, and even a movie called Cold Fish was made in Japan based on his story. Mika Ewan still has photos of him playing with the dogs in the pet shop, and he appeared on Japanese television several times to tell the story in person. Sakine told the story when he was interviewed before his death, saying he believed there was a god.
It was real. It was real. That's what, see, all the ones that say true are the actual, like, spicy ones a little bit. It was true. What the fuck? Yo, that's kind of creepy. How you feel about that? An angel horror story.
This story is from 5 years ago, but it still gives me chills when I think about it. At that time, there was a young man in our neighborhood who was rumored to be kind. His name was Ian. He always carried a flag with him, and whenever I ran into him, he would stop, hold my hand, and pray for me. One day he whispered to me, "You have such a pure soul, so I'll tell a secret only to you. I was actually an angel living in heaven, but the archangel told me to help the corrupted earth. So I came down." I thought he was joking, so I laughed and played along. "Really? Then where are your wings?" He touched his back and replied, "When I was born in a human body, my wing bones became too small. I miss flying." I just laughed it off. However, the interesting thing was that he really had a kind heart, like an angel. When he saw homeless people on the street, he would take them to his house, feed them plenty of food, and pray for them. He also cried all night when he saw people who had accidents or were in unfortunate situations on the news. I was touched by his actions, and we became close friends. But as time went on, darkness began to cover him. His house started to be filled with countless homeless people, and thieves broke in and stole things recklessly.
Damn, why you let them
But
stay?
he forgave them all. Every time this
Yo, I know I
happened,
ain't see John Wick right there. What the fuck? Never mind, John Wick don't got a
but
beard.
he
like
forgave them all. Every time this happened, I told him to take care of his belongings, but he just closed his eyes and recited a prayer. Tears streamed down from his eyes. As time went on, he became increasingly dispirited. Whenever we met, he would stare at the sky with a sad face for a long time. As time passed, he began to act strangely. He yelled at a random passerby on the street, saying, "Your heart is filled with filthy greed. You should have a kind heart. I can see it all." The person flustered and ran away. Another time, we went to a restaurant together, and he suddenly slammed the table during the meal and shouted, "How can this be considered as food? Compared to the food in heaven, this is garbage." Then he covered his ears and screamed, "This is not music! Compared to the music in heaven, this is just noise." Then he sang hymns like a madman, and eventually we were kicked out. After that, he continued to cause trouble in the neighborhood, and I stopped contacting him. Several months passed. One day, I heard shocking news from a neighbor. Ian had gone missing. One day, a neighbor living next to Ian's house heard what sounded like hundreds of people singing hymns coming from Ian's house. So they knocked on Ian's door, but there was no one inside. Ian didn't show up for several months, and his parents and friends came to look for him but couldn't find him. So they eventually filed a missing persons report. One neighbor who saw Ian last claimed that he looked emaciated, as if he hadn't eaten for a long time, and his wing bones were abnormally and incredibly protruding. There was a note on Ian's desk which read, "I came down to heal this world, but now I have lost my light. The children of Satan are whispering to me day and night to come down to hell. Dear God, please take me back to heaven." Ian is still missing.
Dang. The true cult story.
I still remember the face of my friend dying in front of my eyes. Would that look be a resentment against me, an anger, or a sadness? I do not know the answer. I would never know forever. Sometimes the memory of that day portrays like a movie scene in my head, regardless of my will.
Life lesson?
And it feels like it is getting clearer as days go by. My psychiatrist told me that this was because of the shock, and he said he would conduct a hypnotherapy to erase my memory. In my unconscious,
you talking about the other one?
I imagine going back to that day to save my friend.
Life lesson.
However, despite repeating hundreds of times, I could not save him. It happened 8 years ago. This is a story of Iwan, a friend of mine who fell into a cult. He had believed in religion for a long time, but there was something off about it. Rumors say that people worship a very large snake as a god. I told him to not lie, but Iwan's face looked serious. He said everything went well after believing in that religion. One day, I couldn't resist his incessant invitation, so I followed him once. He was my best friend for 10 years, so I couldn't reject. What was the name of the religion? I couldn't remember, but one thing I do remember is that the name was not in modern language. I was shocked as soon as I entered the religion auditorium. Everyone was wearing a snake-faced mask with their tongues sticking out.
Hell no, that teddy hand move. You're lying. Clip it right now. Hurry up and clip it. You're capping. Clip it. Clip it. You're capping. Cap. Clip it. Hurry up. Clip it. Clip it. Cap. Or it's just the wind. There's no fucking way.
Their tongues were all split in the middle like a snake. But that day happened to be the day of an important ritual, which was the day of worship to the snake god. The cult leader came into the auditorium, and the believers frantically made the sound of snakes. I was shocked and got horrified to see Iwan was also hissing like crazy. A moment went by, and the believers gave something to the leader. Someone gave a snake-shaped gold. Someone else gave huge bundles of money, and someone even brought a deer that they had caught themselves. When it was Iwan's turn, I was confused because his hands were empty.
Oh, he brought his friend.
However, when the leader stood in front of him, Iwan pushed me towards the leader. Full of shock and anger, I asked him what on earth he was doing. The leader, with an excited look, said to me, "Oh, such a precious gift. Do you also agree with being offered as a sacrifice to the snake god?" I cried out, "Never." Iwan started to persuade me. "You will get a huge reward if you give a part of your body to the snake god. Let's cut a little bit off of your thigh. I did it too." Iwan showed me his thigh, and his thighs were indeed cut. I shouted out, "Never." The leader suddenly became cold and stared at Iwan. He said quietly, "Then, Mr. Iwan does not have a sacrifice to offer today." Iwan's face became cold, and he started to tremble. He knelt down and begged me for permission. I did not want to do it.
Why didn't he just bring something else, like a fucking candy bar or something? Like, he could have, the other dude brung money, something gold. Why don't you just bring something like that?
I flapped.
That, like, he fucking, like, he's, like, bro, like, why would he even do that? That don't make no sense. He should have, like, brung something. It's like he wanted that to happen. You see everybody else handing out money, gold, and animal or whatever. You telling me you couldn't come up with an idea? Give him a PlayStation or something. Like, do something.
Flatly refused.
You're gonna go with a human.
Then the leader shouted, "The snake god commands you to be punished."
Oh, shit.
Then he dragged Iwan to take him somewhere. I followed him, yelling to let him go, but I couldn't help him because the believers stopped me. Iwan screamed and grappled, yet they did not let him go. They took him somewhere far away and reached a huge cage. And inside the cage,
snake.
There was a large snake coiled up that seemed to be more than 5 meters long. Iwan screamed, but the believers threw Iwan into the cage. In shock, I asked what they were doing, to which the leader replied, "The snake god will decide whether to punish him or to forgive him. We shall see his will." Soon after, the huge snake started to wind round Iwan's body. He screamed for help, and his eyes met mine. He looked at me and opened his mouth as if he was trying to tell me, but he couldn't speak. The snake was around his body completely, and I could hear a sound like crackling bones. I cried out and screamed, but I was kicked out by the believers. In such shock and horror, I called the police. The police arrived, but they were stopped by the leader and his believers. It took a while for the police to arrest them. When the police tried to find Iwan, he was nowhere to be found. However, the body of the snake was quite swollen. After the investigation, the police confirmed that Iwan was eaten by the snake. The leader and his believers were put in jail. It turned out that the leader actually fed not only Iwan, but also numerous people to the snake. I still cannot forget the eyes of dying Iwan, and I still have nightmares. In my nightmare, it is not Iwan, but me being winded up to death by the snake, and the feeling is so vivid as if it were real. Even today, my bed was soaked with my sweat, and the disgusting smell I felt in my dreams remained in my nose. When will this nightmare be over?
Damn. How you feel about that story right there? Shit kind of crazy, not gonna lie. It's not only sweat, nah, for real. Bro was whacking his shit in the bed.
My name is Leah, and this is a story of how my dad saw a psycho woman on the road at night. My dad was the type of dad who liked to go out a lot, but that doesn't mean that he didn't spend time with us after his shifts. He would hang out with friends a lot, which we didn't really mind because he would spend the full day with us on his days off. Also, our family was pretty big with our grandparents living with us, so we didn't feel lonely. Anyways, back to the story. One time, his friend, who lived pretty far away, was gone for almost a year visiting his parents. So of course, when he was back, my dad wanted to visit him. My dad asked my mom if he could see him, but she was a bit hesitant. But this wasn't unusual for my dad, so she let him go. My dad soon went out, and it was getting pretty late, around 12 p.m., and my dad wanted to go. But his friend kept nagging him to stay a bit longer. So my dad agreed once it was 1 a.m., my dad would finally go. At 1 a.m., he left, and while on the way, he had to cross a road that was almost empty with no sidewalks, stores, or houses.
What's the channel that's famous for its ghost stories? I don't even really know. This is the only like scary shit on YouTube that I watch. I don't really have none. I heard one that's called like Mr. Nightmare or something like that. That's about it.
It was just a straight road with a bunch of land on the side. While him and some other cars were driving, he noticed a girl in a dress on the side of the road, waving her hand like she wanted a taxi. My dad looked around. My dad's car looked nothing like a taxi. It was a gray Jeep. He slowed down a bit to get a better look. Then suddenly, the girl jumped in front of my dad's car. Her face became more clear. Her eyes were red, and her mouth was open wide to reveal her rotten teeth. She seemed like she hadn't showered in weeks, and her face was covered in blood, and in her hand was a sharp knife. While my dad was in shock, the girl jumped on my dad's car and started banging on the glass while screaming like a psycho.
Oh nah, for real.
My dad quickly stepped on the pedal and drove off. Sometime later, I saw on the news that people were being harassed by a crazy psycho girl that ran away from a clinic. Apparently, she managed to kill 2 people. Sadly, they weren't fast enough to drive off. She broke their windshield and stabbed them multiple times. She was caught and sent back to the clinic. God knows what would have happened if my dad didn't drive off in time.
Clown, I see a clown.
My name is Yasmin, and I would like to share my story with you. This happened to me about last year around Halloween. I live in the Cotswolds, so there was a lot of dense woodland areas, and I'm just a teenager trying to look for adventure. It was a few days before Halloween, so me and my friends decided to decorate our old barn for a Halloween party. I brought my boyfriend Ryder and best friend Charlotte. It was a 30-minute walk to the barn. The time was around 10 or 11 when we got there, and while we were decorating the barn, we heard a big knock and scratching. At first, we thought it was just an animal, so we tried to ignore it, but the noises just got louder and louder. We all just froze for what felt like 5 minutes. The thing started laughing in a squeaky noise.
Has
we all planned to bolt out of the barn.
Yo, what?
We counted to 3 and screamed.
What did you just say? What?
While we ran out of the barn. I felt like I was going to die that day. As we were running out, I took a glimpse behind, and there was a clown. It looked just like Pennywise, and it was carrying an axe and a bat. He saw me looking and chased us. Ryder had run far ahead of us, and still to this day, I don't know why Charlotte did this, but she pushed me to the ground and I collapsed. All I remember is the clown's face right against mine and being hit by something. I woke up in the hospital and I found out that Ryder ran back and called the police. What scares me the most is that on Halloween night, that same costume was worn by Charlotte's brother. I don't talk to her anymore, and I haven't since the incident.
Yo, that bitch is crazy.
I just graduated, and I'm hoping to move to America with Ryder. I hope I never see Charlotte or that clown again.
She would've got her ass beat, bro. Just pushed me? Oh, fuck no. My scary experience in the Philippines. Alright, okay.
This story is unforgettable. I can remember it like it happened a week ago, although it happened almost a year ago. Me and my family went on a vacay in the city of Pampanga, which is Olongapo. We stayed there for almost a week. It was a very long road. To be honest, it made me so tired I just wanted to sleep during the journey. As time went by, it got longer and longer, to the point I was impatient.
Oh, watch SCP stuff? No, but I be playing the games. Should I start watching this stuff? Is it good?
I almost got to sleep when I suddenly saw 3 unknown figures with no faces, just standing in the corner of the road as if they were waiting for us. All I could see was their tattered clothes with some blood stains on them. I told my parents to stop for a moment to ask them if they had seen those figures. They said no. So I thought that this was just my head playing tricks on me. So I ignored them and got back to sleep to reserve it for later. As we arrived at our rest house in Olongapo City, I saw those 3 figures again. I managed to spot the patterns of the clothes of one that I saw earlier. But this time, I saw their faces. Their facial expressions could be seen because of the sunlight. As I made a keen observation of them, I would describe that they had a serious aura. I thought they were people who just guard the road in case a random guy tries to barge in without a ticket. But no, they were the 3 guys I saw from earlier on the road. So how did they manage to know where we were going to stop? But to this day, I find it stupid that I just ignored it. Anyway, we were enjoying the whole 3 days there. We were swimming at the beach, enjoying the sunset view, and playing with some random people there. There wasn't much to do that day, so I was busy doing some chores in our rest house. Our rest house is a behe kubo, made out of bamboo wood and nipa, which serves as the roof of the rest house, and the length of it is 4 meters. While cleaning it, I saw some claw marks on the roof ceiling outside. I questioned how this could be, Because how could somebody reach that high up when they would need a ladder to climb up there? I still ignored that red flag. During the night, me and my family were about to sleep, when suddenly we heard a pack of guys screaming at the top of their lungs, so loud it almost made me go deaf. Then it stopped for a while, for maybe around 10 minutes. I heard it again, but this time it wasn't loud anymore. They were screaming as if they were whispering right next to my bed, which is on the second floor. Now, I stood up in shock hearing that sound. It wasn't only me who heard that. It was also my aunt, my mom, and my niece. We were all stupefied by it. So we ran outside to look for those guys.
Lick. What you mean? Oh, the thingy?
We searched all around the house and found nothing. We asked our neighbors if they had heard something or somebody screaming, but they answered no. What we did is to call the police and tell them what happened. They asked us if we'd managed to see it, and we said no, we haven't. But we managed to tell them about the screaming, and all of the police there were shocked. One cop came near us and told us the scariest thing that one can ever.
All right, I'm turning on my lights. I'm done.
Here. He said this. You see, those guys you heard screaming aren't people at all. They are tick-tick. They search for prey and eat them. You can tell whether they're near or far away from your house when you can hear their yelling voice. If it's loud, they're far away from the house. But if they yell in a low voice, they are in your house. Sometimes before doing it, they will leave a claw mark in someone's house as they're marking for their targets. We were all completely shocked and at the same time became nervous. Now everything made sense, from the screams to the claw marks I saw earlier. The cops saw the nervousness and worries on our faces, so they escorted us to our rest house and told us to pack up our things and go back to Manila to avoid these encounters. We had already packed up our things in the morning, and as we were about to pop in for the ride, my heart suddenly started beating faster, and a chilling cold sweat ran down my spine. I saw those three guys again. Now they have happy faces. I never looked back at their faces once I hopped in to ride. To this day, I never knew how they managed to hunt us down where we were staying. The only thing I know is that we were still alive. We didn't tell our friends or acquaintances about it. I hope that I never see those three guys again.
That shit scared me a little bit at the end. Like y'all, I probably didn't like express it. Like y'all probably didn't see me, but like my heart just like sank for a minute when I just saw that.
Back in 2016, my friend Lachlan and I thought about doing the best prank ever. It's the ghost girl walking through the streets.
Oh, I already
prank.
saw this one. That shit was disturbing as fuck. I did see that one though. Yeah, you saw that one too? Mm-hmm. True school horror story, okay.
My name is Kiana, and this creepy thing happened to me 3 years ago. I'm an actual musician and part of the music club, a violinist to be specific. Well, every year we always get invited to a 3-day camping event from another school. This year, we got invited from a school in a very rural town. And it's an old private school, and it takes about a 9 to 11 hour bus ride to get there. So, as we're driving into the town, it seemed active and noisy, so I felt at ease. But just minutes later, I noticed that the crowd noise
Nah, profile lady says she sound like a nerd.
had vanished. I looked out the window and noticed we were headed to the woods, which is completely odd. Finally, after a long ride, we got to our destination. It looked like a mansion with a big gate and a signage that said St. Louis Academy. When we pulled up, an old lady came out to escort the 5 of us and our advisor inside. And that's pretty much how our day started. They had prepared 2 rooms for us to stay in. The boys were in one room, and we 3 girls were in the next.
She do like she could be a witch, I'm not gonna lie. She do like she could be a witch.
While unpacking and preparing our stuff, the students out in the hall stared at us while they passed by. They were wearing really proper uniforms, and they all looked gloomy and kind of creeped out. But it really didn't bother me.
I thought this nigga right here look creepy. This nigga right here look creepy.
Maybe it was just because this school was really strict. So, after the first day of long music classes, we finally got back to the room, and I took a long bath to try and relax. Now, I've been going to these types of camps for years, and you'd think I'd be used to sleeping at other places, but I'm not. I'm still not comfortable at sleeping at other places. So that night, after much
For real, he do look like that. Why he kind of do look like that, though? He kind of do.
And turning, I looked at the clock, 2:30 a.m., and I still hadn't gotten any sleep. I closed my eyes and tried to burrow my face into the pillow, when suddenly I heard a tap, like a footstep. I looked around and saw that everyone else was sleeping in their beds. Then I heard it again. Tap. Another footstep. I started to become pretty nervous. The footsteps sounded like they were just walking all around us, and I could definitely hear it. I started sweating and just tried to cover myself under my blanket. It was so creepy. The next thing I realized, it was already morning. While getting ready and doing our usual morning routine before class, I asked everyone, "Hey, did anyone else hear footsteps last night?" I tried to sound casual and not be creepy. Maya just laughed while curling her hair and said, "It's only your imagination." But Lennel, on the other hand, was spooked out. "So you heard it too?" she anxiously asked. We all froze, and Maya turned around. "You mean it wasn't just a dream?" she said. All 3 of us got really quiet, and there was this eerie feeling in the room. No one knew what to say, so we just kept quiet the whole morning. The boys seemed in good condition, but the 3 of us girls were totally creeped out. In fact, we were so creeped out, we couldn't focus, and ended up being scolded because we weren't paying attention the whole day. By the time classes were all done and it started to become night again, it only got worse. The creeped out level went way up, and Lennel was so freaked out she couldn't even focus on sleeping. Maya and I were in the same boat. But after a few more hours, Lennel actually fell asleep.
Nah, for real.
But Maya and I continued to chat to distract ourselves. It was around 2:30 a.m. again when we heard a faint footstep. We both got goosebumps and looked right at each other. The footsteps became louder and louder. But this time, we both felt a rush of icy cold air hit us. We dove under the blankets, hoping that whatever it was would just leave already. I can't say for sure, but I thought something brushed up against me, and I swear I could feel its breath on the back of my neck. Let's just say, neither of us slept that night. I tried to shake off the creepiness in the morning, and at least focus for the last day of classes, though Maya seemed to be having a really terrible day. She couldn't focus at all. We didn't even want to talk about what we heard or maybe even felt. We just wanted to get out of there.
I would have left.
That afternoon, our bus arrived, and we were really grateful that we could now leave that school. The other students...
Oh my god, here go this face nigga ass nigga again, bro. Yo, this nigga look like he just angry at the world. This nigga look like he ain't have his coffee in the morning. And this nigga ready to kill somebody.
Saw us off, but I seemed to notice that not everyone had a smile. Instead, they were all looking at us with a very wicked look. On the way home, Maya got sick on the bus. In fact, all of us girls were feeling really weird. It was then that the bus driver said something very strange that I will never forget. He said, "I can't believe you actually had fun staying overnight at that school." Later, we looked up that school and found other people posting about it. Turns out that the room we were staying in was the so-called isolation room, a detention room for students who got in trouble or got bad performances in class. They'd get locked up for a day, or sometimes even weeks.
Damn.
We also found out that just 2 years ago, before we came to that place, 3 students took their lives in that
those are the students.
very room, which gave me the creeps. Did they hear what we heard?
Oh, shit.
I'll never know, but what I do know is that that was the most traumatizing thing that has ever happened to me.
Damn. Damn. That's all I could say. If she asks you this question, I always say no. I think I saw this one before.
What a pleasant way to begin my 3 a.m. shift at Mercy Hospital. The first thing I did as I sat down was cut my finger. It was a paper cut. And despite working at one of the largest hospitals in the state, I couldn't find a single band-aid laying around. I slept on my...
before. I can't be scared easily. You know what? Tomorrow, if you're gonna be here tomorrow, I got a video for you. You're gonna be scared. Watch. I'll get you. Cause I'll make fun of everything. Alright, watch. Okay. Watch. Tomorrow, I got something for you. Watch. Be here tomorrow. I got a video. And wait, don't listen to it when you around people, or when it's like, don't watch it when you around people, or when like you around lights. Turn off all the lights. Make sure it's dark. I got a video that's gonna scare you. Watch. Watch. I can't even find nothing good for real no more. I watched the other ones.
Hi, my name is Estefania, but I prefer to be called Tefa. I'm from
I got school tomorrow, so I gotta watch right now. No. It's gonna be like later at night. Do we have the same time? Right now it's 3:06 a.m. for me right now. It's not gonna be like in the morning. It's gonna be like at night. True paranormal story experience. My bad.
My nickname is S. I wanted to share my experience that I had 4 months ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna be streaming it like late. So yeah, you already gonna be back. You're gonna be back. Alright then.
In hopes of it getting animated. Your animations are totally great, and I'm a daily viewer.
Oh yeah, this is a true story. Yeah.
Of your channel.
Okay, yeah.
About 4 months ago, I was home as usual with my parents and siblings, and I was studying.
Alright, yep.
I decided to take a shower.
So yeah, I'm gonna stream at a later time.
After I was done, and so I did. When I was in the shower, my parents and my 2 siblings went to take our cat to the vet and forgot to tell me. I continued showering and didn't hear them leaving or anything, so I didn't know that they left. While I was in the shower, our power went out. I thought nothing of it since a week ago my mom said that there was a problem with the electricity and that she would get it fixed soon. I got out of the shower and went to the living room where me and my parents usually hang out and watch TV. I couldn't see much, but I clearly saw 4 figures sitting on the couch. I was talking to them.
I got school at 6, and then. Oh yeah, you're gonna be back before then. Hell yeah, you're gonna be back.
Men complaining about the electricity, and no one responded. I was hearing breathing sounds, so I was certain that they were actually there. I told my sister to get off the couch so I could sit, and still no answer. I got annoyed at how they were acting and decided to move her myself. But as soon as I touched that figure, it was air. I stopped for a second. I was shocked. I ran and got my phone and turned the flashlight on and saw that no one was home. I called my parents and they said they would be coming back home soon. That night when I went to my room, I saw my blanket on my bed had the shape of a human, as if someone was hiding under the blanket.
It's probably gonna be him.
I told my sister to stop playing and get out, but no answer. I got mad, and when I removed the blanket, no one was there. I kept trying to remake that shape, but the blanket was too soft to make that shape and stand like that. I'm still unsure who, or should I say what, those things were that night. And to this day, I can't find an explanation.
Okay, I was ready for them to add something at the ending, so like I wasn't even like scared. The woman under the tree.
To me about 6 years ago. I would tell her sick. This happened to me about 6 years ago. I'm now 26 and I'm also married with 2 awesome kids. For some context,
that's what I'm saying. It's too much anime.
I'm a guy. This is what happened to me. I tried so many times to leave my ex-girlfriend, who we'll call Sarah. Whenever I would tell her that I wanted to see other people or that I should move out so that we have room to breathe, she would always go crazy and threaten to kill or cut herself or even drive her car off of a bridge. Mind you, where I live, there really isn't any bridges. Anyways, one day I run into my ex-girlfriend, who we'll call Rachel, at the mall. We ended on good terms, so we had actually talked like nothing.
She don't even look the same no more. This is a whole different bitch. This is somebody different. Oh shit. Let me hit the...
So we had actually talked like nothing happened. I had told Rachel about my situation with Sarah and how I really wasn't happy with her.
Oh, okay, my dumb ass. That's not even his girl. This is his ex-girl.
That I was really scared that she was going to do something to harm herself. Rachel told me if I was really worried that much that I should let one of her family members know. So one day during work, I called her on my lunch and told her we should have dinner and talk. I also ran to our place and got all of my things and my dogs and moved everything back into my parents' house.
Yeah, you gotta run.
I know. That's really messed up. But you have to understand that she was crazy. Like really crazy. When we went to dinner, I told her in public that we should break up because I just wasn't happy anymore. And to be honest, I really hadn't been for a while. I mean, we had been together for about 3 years and I just wasn't happy. I had actually told her a few months after we started dating that I thought we were better off as friends. Anyways, so we break up and I go back to my parents' house, which they really weren't happy about because they knew how she was and they were really scared that she was going to do something to the house.
He remind me of Ellen. You know who Ellen is?
Worse. They wanted me to go to a family member's house instead, but I mean really, who would actually take 2 big dogs and me on top of this giant load of drama? Later that night, when me and my dad are talking in the living room, all of a sudden we hear the sound of my truck alarm then go off and the sound of glass break.
Oh, fuck no. She vandalized
my heart
in the car.
sank. I just knew it was Sarah. I go outside, calmly trying to talk to her like an adult, and she just starts hitting me and spitting in my face, telling me I'm a piece of crap and all these other crazy things.
Damn.
I kid you not, I didn't touch her not one time, and I never raised my voice. I tried to get her to relax and at the same time telling my dad everything was okay. I can handle this. Just go back inside. Finally, after about a half hour of just getting hit and yelled at, she eventually leaves, peeling out of my parents' neighborhood. Let's fast forward a few days later. I end up getting a visit from the cops asking where I was the night of this night and blah blah blah. You know how it goes. I tell them, but they don't believe me. They say that they want to take me downtown for some questions. Being the decent person that I am, I decide to go willingly. And well, what do you know? It turns out that she had filed a report on me saying that I beat her and also held her at gunpoint to get all of her money from her safe, and that I also wanted the PIN numbers to her card. For a while, I didn't even say anything because I was just so shocked at this point. I then tell the cops, "Look at me. I'm the one that has cuts and bruises here. She did that. I didn't do anything to her." Their response, "Sir, she's a lady. We have to hear her side on this, and we're going to need to take some DNA samples from you." Well, I give them what they need, and long story short, I'm thrown in jail waiting for a hearing. About 2 weeks go by and the results came back. And you guessed it, totally negative. Also, I forgot to mention this, but me and Rachel ended up getting back together, but the harassment
looked better anyway.
Never stopped. Sarah made it impossible for me to move on with my life. For almost a year, I would get constant visits from cops asking why I was stalking her. Sarah even hired a private investigator to follow me and Rachel around. Every time I got a visit from a cop, I always had something backing me up on where I was whenever Sarah claimed I was stalking her. She had 4 restraining orders filed against me when I never even had anything to do with her. Finally, the judge was sick of it. I guess he had finally seen just how crazy she was because he didn't issue any more restraining orders after that. Me and Rachel almost didn't make it through this. Sarah made my life hell, but I'm really glad I ended things with her. So Sarah, wherever you are, I really hope you find the help you need. And I pray and hope no other man ever has to go through this.
Damn. It's always the pretty bitches. Damn, look. It's always the pretty bitches. I heard the woman under the tree.
I'm from India, and this is a true story of mine.
Bro,
I once lived in a small town on the Ganges riverbanks. In my adolescent age, one of my favorite hobbies was to roam in the whole village with my bicycle all day long. I was neither an imaginative type nor chicken boy. However, this incident completely changed my whole life. In my country, we consider the Ganges to a sacred river in Hinduism, and the water of River Ganges is frequently used in various rituals. My father was a priest in our village. One night he ordered me to bring some Ganges river water from our temple. As the river was nearby my house, I thought of going to the river to draw and bring water from the river itself instead of heading to the temple. While coming home with a full bucket of water in my hand, I suddenly noticed a woman leaning on a tree. The outside was almost getting dark, and she was wearing a hood on her head, so I couldn't see her face. Yet she seemed to be normal at first. Then she called me and requested to remove her hood. So I took one step forward.
Like the guy that sat on the banana.
I walked toward her, closer and closer. And as soon as I reached my hand to her hood, I suddenly noticed both her hands were nailed down to the tree.
What the fuck?
Being freaked out, I ran back to my house, letting a scream out, and my heart was throbbing frantically at that very moment. When I reached home, I told my dad about the lady I saw, and what he said to me eventually made my heart sink. Long ago, there was a woman in our town who was called a witch because of drinking the blood of young children. She got arrested by village people and ended up nailing on that very tree as a punishment. And from that day after she died, many people were found dead under that tree with marks of 2 sharp canine teeth, as though someone had sucked the blood from their bodies. Even now, I grew up as an adult. I get goosebumps just thinking about the woman I saw that night.
Thought they were gonna show a picture or something. Nah, bro, it's slow. There's no way you ain't fucking see that when you first walked up to her. There's no way. I would have easily been able to call it out.
For your information,
Alright,
this
lockdown
story
story.
is not my personal story, but is one of my friends. Her name is Miranda.
Think I heard
and
about
one
this
day
story.
she did her typical morning routines right before school, messaging people on Snapchat while walking. Around 20 minutes later, she arrived at her school. However, then she immediately realized that something weird. There was no one
I've
outside
seen this
of
one.
the
I mean, I
school.
can still watch it.
At first, she thought that everyone just entered inside, or that she was kind of late, so ended up shrugging off and quickly walked into school. She tried.
Are you asking me Twix or Snickers? Snickers. I'm going with Snickers. I'm sorry. I gotta go with the Snickers. Snickers candy bars are like the best. They better. I don't like Twix. I don't really like Twix at all. I'm sorry. I hate Twix. I'm
to message
sorry.
her friends, but no one responded at that time. No service? But I have full bars on my phone, though. The inside of the building was quiet when she entered, and she noticed that there was also no
Yeah,
one
I just
around.
don't like Twix. I'm sorry.
She was even more confused and didn't know what to do.
Terrible.
She began to walk to her class. As she went past the cafeteria, she saw that there was only one person in there, and his head was down. When she was about to pass by, and at that moment, she realized that there was blood below the person. She froze in the spot. Just then, her phone buzzed, and it was a Snapchat notification from one of her friends. "Hey, there's a shooter in the building, and the person already shot a few people." Obviously, Miranda freaked out at that moment. She started to run out of the building. To tell the truth, Miranda was a very lucky girl. As Miranda ran out of the building, the shooter, who was in the office that was next to the exit, didn't see her because he was stabbing a student at the same time. After the cops entered the building, the massive killer already killed himself. Fortunately, almost everyone was evacuated, but there were a total of 7 deaths and over a dozen injured. One of Miranda's friends, who didn't respond to her, was one of the people that were killed. And actually, her friend was the one in the cafeteria that was laying his head down. Miranda eventually went to the police station to watch the security footage, and as she watched the video, it turned out that the man stabbing someone in the office slowly raised the gun and pulled the trigger towards her, running to the exit. However, he ended up failing because the gun was out of bullets.
Damn. So she
Although
was gonna
the
get
school
popped.
now has more security guards all around the building, along with more police officers and more cameras and metal detectors around all areas, she doesn't go to that school anymore. If he had one more bullet, she would have been a goner.
Damn.
She thanks God every day that she eventually had survived from hell. One, the man with a fretsaw. The house I used to live in was a kind of detached house form. Although the house was an open place, it would not be possible to break in even if someone climbed over the wall if the door was locked. However, the incident just happened one summer. Being tired of the hot weather, I just put a chain on the door and went to sleep without even thinking of an uninvited guest's invasion. Not long after, a weird sound began to be heard from somewhere at night. At the moment I opened my eyes to the sound, I saw a man cutting our door chain with a small fret saw in front of the door. I, who was terrified at that time, screamed loudly, but he didn't stop sawing. Surprised by my scream, my parents and older brother ran outside, and my brother, who was grabbing a golf club in one hand, yelled to the man, "What are you, man? Do you have a death with?" Then the man smiled and said, "If this gets cut, you guys all die." Fortunately, the man was arrested by the cops, who arrived quickly, and we didn't suffer big damage, though. But the memory of the day still scares me up to this day. 2. My dear, were you scared? I once had a big sleep paralysis while I was sleeping. Fortunately, I was able to wake up soon after, and I rushed to my mom's room with fear, and she hugged me. "My dear, were you scared?" Mom said to me like this as she patted my back, but I seemed to be relieved by her voice at first. However, I suddenly felt something was wrong. My mom began to ask the same question over and over again, scratching me on the back with her fingernails slowly but continuously. "My dear, were you scared? Were you scared? Were you scared?"
Fuck no.
3. My missing friend. Today I went to my friend's funeral. It was really heartbreaking, maybe because he died absurdly with a month left before his marriage. So he was living alone in a studio apartment. He told me and other friends that he will travel to Europe by himself for a while before his wedding. When he said he wouldn't be able to contact us for a month, we all thought he was enjoying his travel. However, I felt something strange that he didn't come back after the day he had mentioned. We all felt anxious, so another friend ended up visiting his house and he was found dead in the bathroom. It turns out that while he went in the bathroom alone, his big mountain bike fell on the floor and it didn't open, and my friend was locked up for a month and dead like that. Even now, my tears still flow with the sadness lingered in my heart.
Imagine you going to use the bathroom or whatever and your bike fall and like nobody can hear you try to scream and there's literally nothing you could do. So now you know that you're about to die in that room. Damn, that's crazy.
Hope you guys, whoever read this, always be careful. 4. The woman in the
like
restroom.
That do happen a lot.
Our school went on a trip to China for a vacation. We were supposed to go to one hotel as our lodging, but due to traffic problems, the reservation was canceled, having communication problems with the hotel.
I'm drinking baby water. Yeah. I would have kept drinking. No, but he still need to eat something. Eventually, he gonna end up dying. Like, the water probably gonna save him. But how you gonna be able to keep doing that, though, if you don't have nothing to, like, eat off of? There's nothing in there to do. You gonna die. If somebody don't come rescue you in time, it's over with.
All the teachers were freaked out, and we had to gather at a nearby McDonald's waiting for about 2 hours. Meanwhile, our teachers were looking around for the other hotels, and there were available rooms in an old mansion-style hotel run by a Korean. Anyway, we were able to explain quickly since the owner was Korean and ended up staying for about a day. We unpacked our stuff, washed up, and fell asleep. But one of my friends kept waking me up that night. "Hey, can you go to the restroom with me?" However, since the hotel, which was different in structure from a regular hotel, it was difficult to find a restroom, and I was afraid to walk around this night, so I refused and just continued sleeping. The next morning, while we were checking out, she was constantly asking a question at the counter, and her face was turned deadly pale, so I asked her what she was asking about. "Friend, I went to the restroom alone yesterday, you know. It was too dark and scary, but I really had to pee. So I ended up finding the restroom and was sitting inside, and then I heard a Chinese woman said something outside. So I was thinking, oh, the other guest is going to use the restroom too.
Fuck no.
But then she only repeated one word, Zai Ming, like this. My poor friend got scared and thought for a long time whether to go out or not. Finally, when she ran out at once and there was no one there, she returned to the room in fear. After she calmed down a little, she then started to search for the word that she heard just before through the internet. But the results did not come out, so she had no choice but to sleep again.
Damn, that's
Eventually, she knew the word's meaning that she had heard in the restroom only after she went to the computer the next day and asked. What she said was, on top of you.
Oh, fuck no.
The sound from the upstairs. My aunt once moved out to the apartment. However, the location was rural.
Okay, I seen this one before and this shit scared the fuck out of me when I was younger. I watched this like years ago, years ago. This one right here, this story right here scared the fuck out of me. I'm gonna let you know right now. This shit was so scary.
And the apartment was constructed around there, so it was totally empty at that time. Any residents were coming in. Anyway, after my aunt and uncle had moved in, they began to hear footsteps from upstairs every day at dawn that seemed to be someone was walking around. It's not like just a few times. They heard it for the whole month. My aunt gradually started to get mad, so she ended up visiting upstairs, but there was no one in the apartment. Then she visited the security guard and asked, "Excuse me, is there a person living in that apartment?" "Well, it's probably an empty apartment yet." My mom told her that the thief, the beggar, or the stray cat might have come inside. So the next day, my aunt visited the guard again and told him about this. And he eventually went upstairs that night and searched the whole inside, but there was no sign of forced entry to the apartment. Nevertheless, the running sounds from upstairs didn't seem to stop and bothered my aunt and uncle. And my aunt, who felt something strange, ended up calling a shaman. When the shaman arrived at the apartment, she took a look around inside and calmly told her like this, "You must leave here. Move out to another place." "What are you talking
Smashing up on top. Hey, yo. Hey, fucking yo.
About?" Being dumbfounded, she asked back as soon as she heard it. However, after hearing the shaman's next words, she changed her mind, and they eventually ended up leaving the apartment. So this is what the shaman actually said. "This is the sound of ghosts wandering around. But the problem is, it's not from the upstairs. This sound is from your ceiling, and it's walking around, hanging upside down."
That shit scared me a long time
The amusement park. One day, one of the employees was preparing to close the ride in the amusement park. Then he saw two people coming in. "I guess you guys are the last." The staff led them to their seats, and the two, who appeared to be a couple, sat in a friendly atmosphere and said, "Oh, we are celebrating our 100th day anniversary." "Congratulations. What kind of anniversary is it? Date?" Operating the ride, he also said pleasingly, and at that moment when he turned around, the woman said to him, "No, the anniversary of our death." He immediately got goosebumps and blankly looked back at the place where the ride left. What kind of prank is that? However, to his surprise, there was no one on the ride when it came back.
I would have quit that fucking job.
And when he checked the CCTV again, he only saw himself staring into the air, greeting and talking to himself, and operating the ride.
True stories to keep you up at night. Oh my God. See, I don't want to listen to this one because this one is trying to keep me up. I don't want to listen to a scary ass story that's failing me to keep myself up. I want to go to sleep. I want to go to sleep. This shit just sounds scary.
A few years ago, me and my now ex went on a weekend away together. We ended up staying at the Hilton Hotel, which was nice and we had a really good time. But I'll never forget the last night we stayed there. Throughout the trip, we kept seeing the same hotel.
Just watch. Alright, bet.
I mean, he did work there, but with it being quite a large hotel with many staff, you'd think you wouldn't run into the same one over and over. But there he was. He was there when we ate, he was there when we went to use the pool, and every time I walked past him, he'd give me the strangest look. I remember on our last day there, I left our room to get some more ice. And guess who appeared as I was at the ice dispenser? You guessed it, the same guy.
The fuck?
I thought as we were leaving in the morning.
Egghead, bro, like Ronald Weasley.
Anyway,
Weasley.
I tried to ease the unnecessary tension and smile at him, and I tried to make small talk.
He do got a fucking egghead. What the fuck? This nigga do got an egghead.
Ignored me. He stared at me. Well, glared at me, intensely watching me as I finished filling up my bucket. And as I left, I very stupidly said, "Well, bye then," and offered a half wave. This visibly angered him. He actually started to grind his teeth. So I very briskly walked back to our room. Once I was back, I very casually locked our door. And I also put the chain on. Unnecessary, I know. Nobody without a key card can get in. But I just felt a bit creeped out by this guy. I didn't mention anything to my ex. I just wanted us to enjoy our last night as we did. Well, up until about 3 a.m. anyway. We were cuddling in bed, trying to sleep. We both shot up when we heard what sounded like the doorknob starting to jiggle.
Bro trying to get in, bro.
We both looked at each other, surprised.
Hey, fucking yo.
I assured her someone probably just had the wrong room. I was sure of that assumption until we heard that familiar beep and then the door unlocked. Someone had a key. The door slowly pushed open until it snagged on the chain, and upon realizing this, the would-be intruder swiftly closed it. We were both stunned, but I quickly snapped out of it, hoping that I could catch a glimpse of whoever it was. I ran to the peephole and peeked through it just in time to see a hotel employee briskly walking away.
There's no way you can't tell.
I could only see the back of them. I knew exactly who it was. I wanted to tell the desk what had just happened, but my ex had begged me just to stay in the room with her, and that she didn't want to leave the room. So I told her to come with me, but she didn't want to, so I just stayed in there with her. We tried to sleep, but couldn't. We checked out first thing in the morning. I did mention it as we left, and they said that they'll look into it, but I never heard anything. The Hilton is a nice hotel, and truthfully, I'd love to go back one day. Hopefully, I'll never see that creepy guy again.
That shit was not even scary. This shit was not scary at all. True online dating horror story. Alright, let me hear this.
So right when I had just finished college, I was living in a one-bedroom townhouse / split. I met a guy on Plenty of Fish, and at the time, I wasn't exactly smart about my online digital footprint. It's not like I've really changed, but at least now I'm...
Why do I hear a male voice talking to in their mind? For real, that's exactly what I was just saying. Exactly. What's up, Rex? What's the word? What's going on, my boy? What's going on?
Not at...
Why is the dude talking for the girl?
As ridiculous as I was.
That shit.
Anyways, he seemed like a really decent guy. He was really good looking. He said he had a good job.
I can't. This shit is like, I can't look at that. Are we gonna do an Instagram one? Okay.
I was a big Tinder guy a few years ago. Everywhere I went, I would update my location and then update, my body count.
No, I know it is you, Chase. Chase, I know it's you. Oh, you text me on Discord? Thank you so much for the follow. Sir. Damn. You gotta talk to me about that. I'm not gonna lie. You gotta talk to me about that. When you get back, talk to me about that. Thank you so much, though, DP Strike.
Then I quit doing Tinder and stuck with Instagram. I know, they're completely different, and IG has a bunch of fake accounts. So I saw this girl commenting on all of my friends' pictures.
What is a body count? A body count is how many people that you have sexual intercourse with. I just said it like a nerd, but like basically how many people you fuck. Like how many people you have sex with. That's what a body count is. So if you fuck 2 people, then your body count is 2 people.
Then she commented on mine. I also saw my friends replying, so I figured she was
smash or kill if you in the dark. I already do that shit in the light.
Real person because
look like a baddie right there. I mean, well, no, I was still kill.
I also saw my friends replying, so I figured she was a real person because I looked on her page and she had way more followers than people she was following. So I DM'd her. I definitely thought she wasn't going to reply, but she did within an hour. We talked for maybe 2 or 3 weeks and we made it official. She was pretty, had a degree, and a good job, as she said. I felt she was
she got that money. She got that money.
Every day she posted new photos. And I told my friends about her and they seemed pretty jealous, except for my friend Ryan. He said I was stupid because I never spoke with her, and I only messaged her. She invited me over because she said she can cook.
Oh, nah.
Ryan told me.
See, that's where you mess up right there. The first place it can't be some place private. It has to be a public place around multiple people.
Either don't go.
Fuck no.
The rest of my friends said, don't have any kids, and they would laugh. So I went over there, but not without Ryan calling me a clown first. The GPS said she lived about an hour away.
This nigga really drove an hour for
When I first started to talk to her, she told me that she lived in a nice neighborhood. But when I got there were people everywhere, and the neighborhood was not that nice.
Yep. I would have turned right back around.
When I stopped at the stop sign at the corner, people walked up to my window.
How many times we gonna see John Wick in here, bro? Come on now.
And asked me, what do I need? But I pulled off really fast and got to the house. It was a duplex. So I messaged her, and she said to come up the stairs. It was about 9 at night, and people were everywhere just standing around. I knocked on the door, and I was definitely excited. The door opened, and to my surprise, it was a bald-headed white guy with a patchy beard, tattoos everywhere, including his head, with a tank top on. I asked, was Lisa home, and he said, yeah, come in. When I walked in, I was immediately hit with a musty smell mixed with cheese.
Fuck
He
no.
told me to sit down, and he
Fuck
sat down
no.
across from me on the couch. He said she'll be out soon. He asked me did I want something to drink, and I said, yeah, sure. When I got up, I texted her, can she come out, please? She immediately said yes. The man came back in with 2 cups of juice. One for him.
Don't drink
and
it.
one for myself.
Don't drink it. Don't drink it.
Then I noticed that he put a phone down on the table next to him. So I acted like I sneezed and got some on my arm. Then I asked for a tissue. He went to get some tissue and he left his phone like I thought he would. I texted her back, and to my horror, the phone rang.
Oh, fuck no. Get the fuck out of there.
Caller ID
Yo, get out of there.
name.
Run now.
I heard him coming back.
Run now.
He came back and we sat there for about a minute. And then the phone rang again because he never checked the message that I sent. He looked at the phone. I looked at the phone. Then we looked at each other.
I'm in shock too, Strike.
I postured up. And he calmly said, I guess you caught me. Then out of nowhere, he lunged toward me, attempting to grab me. I punched him, and he fell on his face. I ran out of there so fast, and
At least this nigga know how to fight against him, bro.
Yeah, I called the cops. And when they got there, the man was still knocked out. After that, I never went on dates with people that I met online again.
Alright, like now story.
It happened last year, 2018, when I was still in my second year of high school. It was earlier March that I was in school. We were just playing some quiz game on my laptop. I connected it to the projector for all of them to see. But then suddenly the school's fire alarm went off. They said this isn't a drill, but rather a maniac just entered our school with a gun. So all of us closed the door and the window to our classroom and switched off the lights. It was all silent, like you could hear a pin drop to the floor. At first I wasn't panicking that much, but it all started to happen when a gunshot was heard from the distance of our room. I can assume that he already knows that we're here. We are the closest room from the entry hall. Every single one of my classmates was crying. I'm the tallest and the oldest student of them all. I'm 16 and some of them are 15 and 14 and another one is 12. So I thought, I'm the oldest. I should protect them. And I was like that. So then I grabbed the fire extinguisher in our room, because every single room in my school has a fire blanket and a fire extinguisher, just in case of a fire. I had a stupid plan inside my head that I'll spray him with the fire extinguisher. So then I opened our room door.
You better hope that shit works.
And I came across it. He was a middle-aged man wearing a white tank and black slacks. He was holding a .44 Magnum caliber revolver. At first, we were having a quick draw match, like that. He grabbed his gun first and pulls the trigger. I can feel my heart beating fast.
That nigga lucky
and just
did
then
not
he
go
aimed the
off.
gun at me, but it didn't shoot at all. He forgot to cock his gun, so then it's my chance to hit him with the fire extinguisher and knock him out. After that, the police arrived and every student was reunited with their family. And still, I'm wondering, What could have happened if he didn't forget to cock his gun and shoot me first?
That was an easy ass win, not gonna lie. Bert's got an easy ass win.
Hi, my name is Lolo. Well, that's my nickname. I'm a mixed girl that grew up in the projects of East Oakland. I'm 50% Mexican and 50% Creole, and my story is about how I loved to fight. Now, I'm not talking MMA, and I know this sounds very, very ridiculous. It's a sad case, but it's true. It all started in the 6th grade. I was a pretty good student in elementary school.
She said she loved
I did
to
well
fight
in
people.
school. I had like 4 friends, and I never got into trouble. Nobody was expecting my big change. In the 6th grade, I met this girl. Let's call her Tanisha. Tanisha.
Why they heads look like that? What the fuck, for real? Yo, these characters be having some weird shaped heads. I'm not gonna lie.
My first friend at my new school, besides my old friends. She introduced me to her friends, and they were really cool. I hung out with them almost all the time. I ended up ditching my other 4 friends from elementary school. It was all good until one of the girls, let's call her Jade, was spreading rumors about me behind my back. Now, my mom always told me to never get too close to anyone, but I thought I could trust these girls. I was wrong. Very wrong. I texted Jade later that week. I was angry and I told her off. She acted like she didn't do anything that bad. That made me so upset, so I ended up telling her to meet me at the park.
Damn.
The next morning,
She's standing on business. Stop playing with her.
Showed up to the park next to our school in my bonnet, sweats, and a t-shirt. She knew what time it was. She threw her backpack on the floor, and I took off my hoops. We ended up fighting, and I won. I was very proud of myself. The principals found out and suspended us both. My mom wasn't proud, but she was just happy I stuck up for myself and didn't get hurt. When I went back to school, I received a lot of attention. Everybody's kid knew about me, even from the 3 cities around me. I even gained a lot of friends and followers on my social media accounts. I loved the feeling of fighting and the attention. I couldn't stop. Later that trimester, the group of friends that I had turned against me, so I fought them too. I didn't care about school anymore. My grades and attendance...
Damn, bro, somebody need to check on bro right here. Yeah, they thought I wasn't gonna see this shit. Somebody need to check on bro right here.
Went down the drain, and I never showed up to class. I tried to join this gang. I'm not going to name it, but I wasn't able to hold them down, and my addiction to fighting turned into an addiction to other things. Now,
Drugs.
I'm not going to speak too much on that, but anyways, I was suspended 8 times for fighting.
Damn.
At my 9th suspension, they decided to expel me from that school. I never lost a fight, and my mom told me to watch out because one day I would meet my match. My mom was very upset with my ongoing bad behavior. The next year, I went to a new school. I had a lot of friends
she only
there
in middle
too.
school and she doing all this?
Everybody thought I learned my lesson, but I was even worse. I fought everyone, even if they didn't do anything that big. Someone could just look at me the wrong way, and I would confront them and then beat them up. I got arrested.
Damn, that shit was loud as fuck.
4 times, and I've been to court twice. I had no fear. Even though I love to fight, I was still girly though. I love fashion, and I've been told that I'm very pretty, which is why people didn't understand the reason why I fought so much. I fought because I didn't like the feeling of embarrassment and disrespect. Somehow, people never cared about how I felt. I got suspended a lot from my new school and then got expelled because I fought a girl who didn't want to fight. It was embarrassing for me because I bullied her, and it was embarrassing for her because she got beat up. I got charged with battery. I had a lot of charges in the past. It really wasn't anything to me. I felt bad for her, but I did what I felt was right. Everybody was scared of me. I thought that was what I wanted, but it was not. I hated it. Everyone thought something was wrong with me. Most people were too afraid to tell me. People told my mom that I am a problem and that hurt her, which made me really sad. I ended up going to a continuation school and I had problems there too. I started thinking,
life lesson, stop fighting back.
something was wrong with me too, just like everyone else did. I just wish I could start over and do everything right. Now I do independent studies and I don't fight as often.
As often is crazy. As often is crazy. So she still fight, just not as often.
I'm gonna control my anger and I keep working on my attitude. I want to do better for next year when my expulsion plan is over.
This is not a scary story. This is not a scary story, but I guess, okay, we here for it.
This happened when I was at college,
Met a guy on
studying acting.
What the fuck?
I exercise regularly, doing yoga, tennis, and most of all, running. My favorite places to run were on the beach and in the woods as I loved nature and being alone. All my friends had boyfriends, and I was single at the time, so...
Hey, yo. I swear that's the title. I swear, look, I'll show you. No, look, I swear. Look, I met a guy on Instagram who squeezed me to death. I swear. Yo. It's the title, I swear.
I felt a little lonely. One day, after I logged onto Instagram and saw that someone had sent me a message, I checked out his profile. His name was Mason. According to his bio, he was a football player at a college near mine. His photos consisted of him playing football, hanging with his friends, and he had a muscular build, but also a little bit chubby.
Yo, he definitely tearing it up at home. He definitely tearing it up.
Eventually, I decided to accept his request, but I just ignored lots of DMs from him and went about my day. Later at lunch, my friends pushed me to start a conversation with Mason, and I did. And turns out we got along with each other well. We talked about fitness, movies, books, and college, a lot of common things. I told him about running in the woods and on the beach, and he told me I was cute and had a good body. He had also asked me if we could meet sometime. He seemed nice, but I was unsure. A couple of days later, I went out for a run around 6 in the morning. Although it was an early morning, outside it was really hot, so I wore a sports crop top and shorts. I was confident with my body anyway. As I went outside, I noticed there was a black car parked outside. I looked closer and could see someone looking at me. And when I left the woods at the same place where I went in, I noticed the same black car was parked nearby. I was scared. I started running back to my dormitory. As I looked back, I noticed the car wasn't following me.
Do you like pineapple on your pizza? I mean, I would eat it here and there. I know it kind of sounds random, but you sent the email, so like it kind of make me like think of that a little bit. I kind of like it a little bit. I calmed down a little bit. I don't like. I wouldn't just sit there and be like, "Hey y'all, let's get this on the pizza." But like if it's there, I would eat it.
And thought maybe that wasn't the same car. When I went back to my dorm, the black car wasn't there, and I felt safe. I had a shower, changed, and
finance people are good. Yeah. We like it. We like the same.
Got ready for the first lesson. I checked Instagram and saw that Mason had messaged me. He told me he wanted to wrestle me. I thought nothing of it and just texted back, "Sounds fun," with a
sounds fun, winky face. Oh, she want that dick.
Winky face. As I was just about to leave my dorm for the first lesson, he messaged me again, asking to meet me at his dorm at his college, and that he wanted to meet me because
you like eating bugs. All right. Don't like the type of person to eat bugs. All right.
I felt bad as I wasn't interested in a relationship. I sent him a message back telling him that I wasn't interested in it and just wanted to stay friends. Throughout the rest of the day, Mason didn't message me back. I started to feel bad, but I thought I'd wait a couple of days to message him back to ask if he was okay. The next morning, I went for my daily run.
Bro just wanted to smash. Nah, for real.
I put on my crop top and shorts and went outside. The black car wasn't around at my dorm, and neither was it outside the woods, so I felt safe. I ran through the woods. It was hot, and I had already run quite a bit. I ran along this trail, and no one was around me. That was until a figure jumped out from behind a tree, a meter in front of me, shouting, "Surprise!"
Fuck no.
It was Mason. I asked him what he was doing and how he found me. He said that he became impatient and just wanted to meet me. He had parked his car nearby, so we could go on a date, he said. I was sure it was the same black car as before, and I was surprised and pretty nervous. I told him it was a little weird to just surprise me like this, but he ignored me and walked up close to me. He told me I was so pretty, and he touched my cheek.
Yo.
I felt uncomfortable and told him, "Sorry, Mason. You're a nice guy, but I'm not interested in a relationship." I tried to push him away, telling him to leave me alone. And that's when he wrapped his arms around my waist and started squeezing me.
What the fuck?
He was very strong, and it was so tight, it hurt a lot. I told him to get off of me and tried to push him off again.
This nigga's a beast compared to her. What the fuck?
But he was so much stronger than me. He squeezed much tighter. I was in pain and couldn't breathe. I couldn't even shout for help.
Damn.
Mason started trying to kiss and even lick me.
Hey, I might have to pause. I don't even know if I can share this shit.
I kept on struggling.
I don't know if I can share this shit.
I felt myself passing out as I was dizzy and started to black out. In desperation, I bit down on Mason's nose and scratched at his eyes. He said, "Let go of me, bitch," and pushed me down as he held his face. As I got my breath back, I got up and started sprinting out of the woods. Finally, I got to college and told my friends what happened, and then explained it to the police. I wanted to press charges and a restraining order on him. They told me they'll investigate it as soon as possible. I blocked Mason on Instagram as well as Twitter and Facebook. He didn't follow me on either, but I blocked him just in case. The next time I heard about Mason was after his trial. It turns out that he was kicked out of his college for assaulting another girl a month before.
Damn.
The police also found out he had planned on kidnapping me as he had a notebook about me and what he wanted to do with me and other women, which includes some of the vilest things. How he wanted to kill women in several different ways and violate the bodies afterward. He even wrote at length about how he wanted to squeeze a woman to death with his arms. I threw up when I found out. Though it may sound unlikely, it is possible to murder someone by squeezing them hard and long enough, preventing them from breathing and causing asphyxiation. Considering how strong he was and how small I am, I'm certain he could have killed me. As far as I know, he's still in prison or in a mental institution. Good riddance. After what happened, I started training in martial arts and started lifting weights. I've never spoken to people I don't know on social media, and I never went into the woods alone again.
It was so tight, she said. Yo, hey, fucking yo.
Sometimes I still think about what happened to me and how it could have ended differently. I do not doubt that Mason could have squeezed me to death. What I want to know is what he would have done with me afterwards.
That nigga's ugly though. Alright, there's some couple good looking ones down there.
It was the spring of 2017. I was flying out to Chicago for a job interview. It was around 11 p.m. and I was sitting in my gate at the San Francisco International Airport.
Oh no, I saw this one. About this one.
This story happened when I was in the 9th grade. I was going home after being at my friend's apartment. He's one of my good friends, so I often visited him. It was about 9 p.m. at night. Usually I went home at 5 or 6 when I visited him, but it was final exam week, so I went home later than usual to prepare for it together. He lives on the 15th floor. I took the freight elevator down because it was quicker than the passenger elevator. The elevator is kind of old, shaky, and not really well maintained. The fan isn't working, the walls are rusty, full of graffiti, and the light flickers, as you would expect from an old building's elevator. At the moment, there were 3 or 4 people with me going down to the lobby. The elevator went down normally. Then, suddenly, at the 9th floor, the door opened.
Hey, kid. That nigga do got one.
I saw one of my other friends.
Both of them.
Her name is Billy. She was playing, laughing with some kids who I assumed to be her friends. Then she looked at me and smiled. I stared at her for a moment, but I didn't reply to her because, well, we're not that close. Nothing came to mind to say. So the elevator closed back up and took me to the lobby. But soon, I realized that no one that was on the elevator with me seemed to notice those kids, despite the loud laughter they made. But once again, I didn't care about it, so I went back home and rested. The day after, I saw Billy again. Out of curiosity, I asked her, "Hey, why were you playing so late at night? Why didn't you stay at home?" She looked confused, as if I was asking her a random question. She then asked me, "Well, what do you mean? I didn't go anywhere yesterday. I was at my house."
Hell no.
I was a bit confused, and I couldn't believe what she just said. She then asked me again, "Well, what was I wearing yesterday?" I answered, "You wore a white t-shirt, right?" I was hoping that she would say yes, but she said no. I felt my heart dropping. If it wasn't her that I saw last night, then who? A few days later, as usual, I was visiting my friend and went home late again. I waved goodbye to him as I was walking the corridor. One thing came to mind. How am I going to get down? Remembering those elevator things, I took the stairs.
Yeah, go to the stairs.
Well, I guess it wasn't a really good decision, but at least better than that scary elevator. I walked down the dark stairwell.
Told you Harry Potter ain't here.
Once in a while.
Yo, this nigga, I forgot about that nigga.
I looked at the open part, and this time, I saw a shadow figure looking out from the balcony across.
Fuck no.
It seemed normal to me, probably a person looking down, so I kept on walking. Watching my step, I looked back up again, and suddenly, the shadow figure thing disappeared into nowhere in just a blink of an eye. I was so scared thinking about how the hell did that guy disappear that quickly? By jumping down the balcony? My steps went quicker, but to my astonishment, I saw the sign 8th floor, which means I saw that figure when I was on the 9th floor. That same floor that I witnessed the ghost Billy. Soon I called my friend and told him.
Get out that apartment.
He was surprised and told me that a lot of people also said that the 9th floor is actually haunted. There was once a guy that died there, but was found rotting in his apartment room 3 days later.
My dad lives in a haunted house.
My name is Sam. It was August of 2001. I was 15 and accompanying my dad to visit his friend's new house. My dad's friend, who we call Rick, just moved into this house a few weeks ago. My dad wanted to visit and ask about renovation and decorating the place, as it was pretty old. Well, I'm English, so that means my country is full of old houses, from like the 1500s. Rick had bought an antique castle thing in a forest. I know, pretty creepy, right?
That's not mustache, that's marker.
We arrived, and Rick and his wife invited us in.
This thing, it kind of do. Hold on, wait.
My dad and Rick soon went off to the garage to discuss what plans were for that.
When I see his face again, I'm gonna go
I
back
was left
to
alone with Georgina, Rick's wife,
like
and their newborn baby, Rick Jr.
On
Georgina asked me to fetch some formula from the kitchen for little Ricky. And being the good 15-year-old boy, I agreed. Even if the house was home to demons. I went into the kitchen, and the first thing I noticed was a trap door in the corner. Me, being curious, I opened it. A terrible smell filled the kitchen. It smelled like horse manure mixed with puke. Suddenly, a pale hand with long fingers grabbed me. I swore and started hitting the hand. Another hand grabbed my other hand and tried to drag me down. I shouted for my dad. Suddenly, purple eyes appeared from the darkness of the trap door. They stared at me. My dad rushed in, and the hands disappeared. I had scratches on my arm, and so I ran them under some cold water. My dad asked me what had happened. I said there was some demon guy in the cellar. My dad and Rick grabbed flashlights and searched the basement. Nothing was there.
That shit do look like marker, I'm not gonna lie. What the fuck? Shit looks scribbled on.
We called the cops who searched the property, and of course, they found nothing. When I got home, I went straight to my computer. It turns out a man was shot in a hunting accident there, roughly around 1770. But trust me, those hands weren't of a man. Rick still lives there, and over the past 18 years, there have been countless sightings and weird stuff. I just hope whoever or whatever that thing is goes away.
Oh, nah. Something terrible just happened at my house. Alright, bet. Rick and Morty, yo.
When I was 7, I had a really scary experience that I will never forget. I got up at 8 a.m., as usual. But as I stood up, I noticed something was different. It was very cold, and I felt like someone was watching me. When I turned to my sister's bed, she woke up, and I screamed. 2 heads hovered in the air. One of an older woman with long, dark hair and green eyes. The other of a bald, older man with blue eyes. I screamed again and ran to my mother. I told her what happened and saw some man at the door. I can't recall what he looked like, but I screamed and hugged my mother when I saw him. I was crying at this point, and she looked at me as I pointed to the door, not explaining why. She instantly knew what I was upset about, and she spoke in the direction of the door. I don't know what she said. I was just too scared to listen, and all I wanted was to be somewhere else.
Too.
Nothing like this happened to me again, until I was 13. I was coming from my friend's house and was really tired. I went to my room, turned the lights off, and went to bed. At 4 a.m., I suddenly woke up without a reason. When I looked at the door, I saw my mother looking at my sister.
What the fuck?
She had lifeless eyes, which reminded me of the incident that happened when I was 7 years old. The heads had the same lifeless eyes as my mother, except her eyes were red and just looked evil. I knew it wasn't my mom. I hid under the blanket, praying that the thing would just go away. When I looked up, it was still there. I prayed again. Then it vanished. I mean, literally vanished. I saw it with my own eyes. That thing grew fainter and fainter until I couldn't see it anymore. When it was gone, I ran to my parents and explained what happened. They believed me and said that if I couldn't go to sleep, I could watch TV or just stay up. I thanked them and went to the living room. Now, I'm 14, and I talked to my mother about the incident that happened 7 years ago. And when I told her what the heads looked like, she seemed very surprised and confused. When I asked her what was wrong, she told me that the description I gave perfectly matched that of my dead grandparents. I don't know if they were really my grandparents, or who that man on the door was.
What the fuck?
I met a terrible...
A creepy man in my brother's closet. Alright.
This happened 2 months ago in January of 2019.
Yeah, you did call it. You did call it.
Party.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah, you did call it. You did call it.
They told me they wouldn't be back until at least 3 a.m. in the morning because the party was supposed to start at 8 p.m. and the party was going to be in New Jersey. We live in Connecticut, so it takes a while to get there and back. They told me to watch my 10-year-old brother and expected me to be responsible because I'm 15 years old. When they left, we watched movies all night while eating a bunch of popcorn. It was around 11:30, and we just finished watching Infinity War. I told my brother to brush his teeth and go
Avengers
to bed.
Infinity War was a good
I stayed
ass
up
movie.
later than
Don't
him
care.
to watch the movie Logan. The movie ended and it was around 2 in the morning. I was getting ready for bed when my brother came down the stairs. I asked him what he was still doing up, and he said the boogeyman was in his closet and wanted to touch him. I looked at him in confusion.
Hey, yo.
My brother isn't the type of kid to pull pranks or joke around. He wanted me to check it out. I said fine and started saying he probably just heard a house noise. He said he heard a noise coming from his closet, and when he checked inside, the boogeyman was there and said he wanted to touch him.
Can I be the boogeyman? Alright. Alright, buddy.
Went inside his room.
Hey, fuck
I
it,
turned
yo.
on the light and we went to the closet door. I opened it, and what I saw made me seriously angry. There was a tall, scruffy-looking man with long, black, greasy hair. He looked as if he was in his mid-40s and was fairly built. I was pissed off when I saw this creep watching my 10-year-old brother sleep, and I figured out what my brother meant when he said the boogeyman wanted to touch him. I was so pissed off. I punched his throat. He dropped to the floor gasping for air, but I stepped on his face as hard as I could at least 6 times. He was covered in blood and was having trouble breathing. I grabbed my brother and ran into the bathroom, locking the door and calling the cops. Then I called my parents. My parents freaked out. In about 10 minutes, the cops showed up and searched the bedroom. He wasn't in there. They searched the house. He wasn't anywhere to be found. I gave them a good description of his appearance, and an officer even stayed at our house until sunrise. A week later, I was informed that the same guy was caught and arrested for raping an 11-year-old boy and murdering his parents. It turns out he had raped multiple children before, and even murdered some of them and their parents. He was 47 years old and received a death sentence. If my brother never came downstairs to tell me what happened, then I fear the worst could have happened to him. And I'm extremely thankful that didn't happen.
Oh, I seen this story. This one was crazy. I already saw that shit, but I'm not gonna watch that one. But that shit was crazy. I went in the wrong ride. Oh, I saw that one too. I saw that one too. That was like that. This is a really real story. The killer who actually did that like died recently. Alright, let's see this one.
I have a true story.
Watch one SCP stuff. Alright, after this one, I got
When I
you.
was younger, I was walking home from school one day. I was in year 11 and saw something weird. I saw a face which seemed familiar to me, but I didn't know how. Later, I was sat in my room and I must have fallen asleep. I had a strange dream where my grandmother, who had passed away before my birth, came to visit me in my room. We had a very pleasant conversation in which she said that she wanted to give me something. I had no idea what this thing was, but I must have agreed to take it. I don't remember exactly what happened next, but I knew it was morning by the way that my mother was calling me to get up for school. I did my normal morning routine, except I didn't put on my glasses, which was strange, as I need them to see.
Actually, that's probably...
Anyhow,
this nigga
I
bullying.
went downstairs to the bathroom.
This nigga
and
bullying the
then
animated characters.
went into the living room. My mom was in the kitchen making breakfast. I sat in the living room waiting for her to be ready, and as she came in with my tea and cereal, she took one look at me and dropped everything. I thought it was because she had seen me without my glasses, but she wasn't really looking at my face. She was looking at my neck. Somehow, during the night, a small gold locket had been placed around it. I was told that the locket had been lost before I was born, and that no one knew where it had gone or what it contained. I never even had seen this locket before, but my mom knew of it as she'd seen pictures of my grandmother wearing it. So, little by little, everything started to fall to place. The person I had seen, or at least thought I saw, must have been a glimpse of my gran. To this day, I still have the locket. I tried to return it to my mom, but she said the locket wasn't given to her, and that it was given to me for safekeeping. I still have so many questions about it, like, why was it hidden all these years? Or why was it given to me? But I keep it with me always.
This is not really
as
a
good luck
sad
charm.
story. Alright, let's do SCP.
The ship's
What is SCP even about? What is it about? It's like a skinwalker or something like that? Because I hear so many people talk about it. Secure Contained Project. Oh, okay.
Dr. Palmer ran, heart drumming against his ribs, his panting breaths and rapid pulse drowned out beneath the wailing emergency klaxon overhead. He collided with the ship's narrow corridor, shoulder glancing off one wall and into another, feeling as if they were closing in on him, ready to trap him with it. Tyler didn't so much as dare to look behind him, not even out of the corner of his eye. Just knowing it was behind him, gaining on him with every hurried step, was enough to keep him barreling down the corridor. A sealed bulkhead door stood in his way, his trembling fingers grabbing hold of the metal wheel to open it. The wheel didn't budge. He frantically tried to turn it, wordlessly yelling in panic and frustration, slamming the side of his body against the metal surface until he felt pain scorching through his arm. For a split second, he noticed his reflection in the small, circular porthole on the door, everything behind him blotted out by a sphere of darkness, moving, alive. With the loud scraping of metal against metal, the wheel suddenly rotated, turned from the other side of the door. As it swung open, a hand grabbed Dr. Palma by his shirt and pulled him through. He'd barely had a moment to get his bearings and figure out where on the boat he was, before a voice in his head urged him to warn the security agents who had just saved his life. But it was already too late. He shouted for them not to look at it. The loud bangs of small arms fire were already filling the corridor, stray bullets ricocheting off the riveted ship's metal walls. The gunfire muffled Tyler's panicked yelling. He had to get them to hear him somehow. Bullets wouldn't stop it. The doctor grabbed the nearest security agent's arms, the man trying to jostle Palmer.
Nigga, why are you still up? I never went to sleep. I'm not tired.
Away so he could continue shooting. The agent ordered an evacuation and requested reinforcements from a mobile task force. You can't look at it! There's something wrong with...
You're banned. How you gonna ban me from my own stream, buddy?
That Tyler shouted back. Then he realized the shooting had slowly stopped. One by one, the agents had lowered their handguns, staring slack-jawed at the thing coming towards them.
For real, we're not even tired. We're not tired. We chilling. We chilling right now. We've been chilling. Bro, Cash left us. You left us. All of us left us. All y'all left us, bro.
Dropping his weapon, the nearby agent did the same, looking directly at the dark sphere. Each of them stepped towards it, mesmerized. The agent that was closest to it gripped its surface. The sounds of him making contact with it and willingly climbing into it made Dr. Palma sick with fear, enough to keep his eyes averted. He slowly started to walk away down the corridor as the next agent, aided by its tentacles, allowed the thing to devour him whole. Then the next did the same, and so did the next. And as Tyler reached the next door, he heard the one who had told him to leave say something.
I get to go home.
There was hope in his voice. Immediately after came the sounds of his life being snuffed out. Dr. Palma navigated through the winding hallways of the ship, following the line painted on the floor that directed personnel towards the bridge. The security agent's death had bought him a few moments, but he didn't find himself running anymore. He'd slowed to a little faster than a casual jog. Maybe some part of him wanted the thing to catch him. At least then, He wouldn't need to run anymore. Opening the bulkhead door, he stepped onto the bridge, heaving the metal door closed behind him until it slammed closed, keeping it out and trapping him inside. Various dials and switches across cluttered consoles filled the room. Not one member of the ship's crew anywhere to be seen, save for the navigation officer. His body was strewn across the ship's navigational dashboard. Dr. Palma froze on the spot as General Mulhausen stood over the dead officer, face still wet with the man's blood, his sidearm drawn and pistol smoke curling in the air.
So you stumbled upon me, eh, Palma? Mighty stupid mistake. Mighty stupid.
Something wasn't right here. The general had always been the strict type. In addition to being vain, he had insisted that the rest of the crew call him General, despite him only being the captain of the security department. But this was different from his usual severity. There was a menacing vacancy to his demeanor. Even if he hadn't been currently brandishing his firearm, he'd be unsettling. It was as if he wasn't quite himself. As he turned around, Dr. Palma realized that, whatever the cause, General Mulhausen clearly wasn't in a stable state, which made the fact that he was armed all the more of a worry. Dr. Palma begged the general not to shoot. The general looked blankly at the gun in his hand for a moment.
I only need this if we come to a disagreement,
he said, sliding the pistol back into his holster.
That's not gonna happen, is it? When the general tells you to jump, your only question should be, how high? So, Doc, are you ready to go home?
Something had fallen from the sky that night. Elias had been up late, gazing out at the stars dancing on the surface of the sea. If he hadn't been so high up, watching from a spot up in the mountains, then he would have mistaken the moving light for just a crashing wave catching the starlight. The comet streaked across the inky night, leaving a tail of flame in its wake. He raced back towards the village, following the path of what he assumed was a meteor. By the time he made it back, it had already fallen, striking the ground a kilometer or so outside of the village, fortunately missing any of the buildings, now nestled in a deep crater. Elias had to tell the elder what he'd seen, wondering if the falling object was some kind of good omen. The men arrived to investigate the next day. They descended seemingly out of thin air, cordoning off the area and refusing to explain to anyone exactly what was going on. A brutish officer then commanded 3 men from the village to come and assist their efforts. Elias knew one of them, waiting nearby for him to return so he could ask exactly what was in the crater. He never came back. Not one of them did. Any questions Elias had about what he had seen fall from the sky would remain unanswered when the general's men turned their guns on the villagers. Tyler hadn't wanted to leave. His office had become the closest thing to a home he had.
Did anyone get mod when they asked for it last stream? No, I don't just hand out mods. I basically, thank you so much for the fucking follow. Thank you so much for it. Michelle, thank you so much for the follow. But basically the people that like continue to join up on streams and interact, that's who I usually give mods. Right now we watching a SCP story right now, if you interested.
Familiarity and order of it, providing him with plenty of comforts. Now he was standing on a boat, feeling the ground rocking beneath his feet, the roar of the sea all around.
Crazy, I know it is. We'll turn the lights off. I had it off before, but I got scared when we was watching some short film story, so I turned it back on.
Some might have found it liberating and exciting to receive an assignment like this. Dr. Palma would have rather been anywhere else. There was a need for a containment specialist, but the prospect of working in the field, even with a real active anomaly, only brought with it feelings of dread. The ship listed gently, a change.
Wait, the story's over with? No, it's the same story. Is this not the same story?
The time only brought with the prospect of working in the field anywhere else. Excited the roar. Now he was standing on a boat, feeling the ground rocking beneath his feet, the roar of the sea all around him. Some might have found it liberating and exciting to receive an assignment like this. Dr. Palma would have rather been anywhere else. There was a need for a containment specialist, but the prospect of working in the field, even with a real active anomaly, only brought with it feelings of dread. The ship listed gently, a change in the tide. He had familiarized himself with the briefings that had come with his abrupt reassignment. but that was the only information he'd been given. No other details, no further context beyond the 7 casualties that had occurred the day before, 3 civilians and 4 personnel. Whatever the security task force had hauled aboard this ship, it clearly posed some threat.
Right, that's what I was.
And the fact that was all he knew about it had Tyler on edge.
Bad at explaining.
Then there were the rumors, whispered he'd overheard since he'd arrived on board, dropped off via helicopter, only to catch wind of 2 security agents talking about the incident in the village in Portugal the day before.
Michelle, is there anything that you got in requests? If you have anything you want me to put down on here, let me know. I can put it on here. Anything you want me to watch? Let's see. I'm gonna watch something that's like gonna be like crazy.
The man sprinted through the hallways of science.
What's the streaming schedule? I usually start streaming like 10 all the way up to probably like 10 in the morning. From 10 to 10 in the morning or 9 in the morning. Basically. But yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna start off at like 6 or 7. I try my best to start them earlier.
I'd 01 as fast as he could. Bullets whizzed over his shoulders as panic shouts went up all around him. The whole.
Do you stream? Do you play any games? Is there anything that you do, or you just like to watch streams?
Facility was bathed in red as security alarms deafened his ears. He had to move fast. Had to get out of here before it was too late. A force smacked him in the back so hard that he fell onto his face, skidding across the vinyl floor. Planting both hands on the ground and trying to push himself back up, he felt his right shoulder blade creaking and bending against itself. He'd been shot enough times in his life to know what a bullet-shattered bone felt like.
I don't even know what I'm watching at this point. I don't even know what I'm watching. This guy is good.
Trying his best
to
ignore.
You seen this before?
One day I was showering. My sister came into the bathroom and said, "Don't open the curtains." She said that her friend was going to use the bathroom because she couldn't hold it any longer. I said, "Okay." I knew someone was there because I heard noises. Then I heard the door close, so I came out of the bathroom. I asked my sister which one of her friends came, and she answered, "No one came over. What are you talking about?" I got chills and I started to freak out. About 2 months later, I was sleeping in my parents' room with my mom and dad because I was scared to sleep alone in my own room. I woke up in the middle of the night. I sat down on the bed and then I saw something truly horrifying. I saw a lady in all white standing near the bedroom door, just watching me. I screamed and my parents woke up. They asked me what happened and I pointed at the lady that scared me. They asked me what I was talking about because there was no one there. I pointed toward its direction and said that there's a lady right there. My dad got up to turn on the lights. He walked right through the lady. As soon as he turned on the lights, the lady disappeared.
Nah, bro. I would have left that room.
We moved about 3 months later. When we were unpacking, I saw a picture of a lady. She looked familiar. When I remembered where I saw her, I got chills. It was the lady I saw when I woke up in the middle of the night. I asked my dad who was the lady in the picture. He told me she was my grandma. He also told me she died when he was 23 years old. My dad was now at the age of 41 when he told me. I got really scared after that. Now when I wake up in the middle of the night, I try my best to go straight back to sleep.
I'm gonna do this one.
When I was 4 years old, my family and I used to live in a huge apartment. Along with the apartment complex was a huge basement where we could do our laundry. However, in order to get there, we had to take the elevator. One day, my mom was doing the laundry. My brothers and I accompanied her. My 2 brothers were playing together. Meanwhile, I was wandering off to the dark basement's hallway. As I walked in further, I saw bloody footprints that were the same size as my feet. I followed the footsteps, and they suddenly stopped at the end of the hallway. I looked up and I saw two kids, a boy with brown hair and brown eyes and a girl with blonde hair and brown eyes.
Oh no.
They were both my age. There was something odd about them, but like any other 5-year-old, I just ignored it. I turned my head around to see if there was anyone else in the hallway, but there wasn't. As I turned my head around to look at the kids again, they vanished. I was confused. I mean, how could that be possible? There was only a wall in front of me. A few days later, I was getting into the elevator. As soon as I entered, I saw the kids again. I asked them where their mom and dad were, but they didn't respond. I turned around and I pressed the button to go to the 3rd floor, and as I turned back to them, again, they were gone. I was shocked, so I told the janitor about what happened. Apparently, there was a horrible situation some time ago. A family used to live here, and the parents killed their own children. Now their ghosts haunt the whole complex in search for their bodies. Several years have passed, and we moved out. But I still wonder if they ever ended up finding their bodies. This happened when I was much younger. My brother was on the soccer team. Let's call him Sean. My family went to his soccer match, which was at a local park. This park included a huge soccer field and a playground area. I was getting bored of watching the game and went over to the playground, where I spotted this kid who had a Spider-Man web shooter on his wrist.
I think I saw something
Being
like
a big fan of Spider-Man, I walked up to him. I asked him if it was the silly string shooting toy, and he nodded. Then
I used to have that. I used to have that toy.
He said, "I have another one in my family's car. I'll show you."
Oh, no.
So he led me over to his van that was parked in the parking lot nearby. He began to crawl in. His father was in the front.
I'm gonna reset the story just for you.
This happened when I was much younger. My brother was on the soccer team. Let's call him Sean. My family went to his soccer match, which was at a local park. This park included a huge soccer field and a playground area. I was getting bored of watching the game and went over to the playground, where I spotted this kid who had a Spider-Man web shooter on his wrist. Being a big fan of Spider-Man, I walked up to him. I asked him if it was...
That was kind of crazy, but what is he squirting?
The silly string shooting toy. And
I used to have that toy before, though. I'm not gonna lie. I used to have that toy before.
He nodded. Then he said, "I have another one in my family's car. I'll show you." So he led me over to his van that was parked in the parking lot nearby. He began to crawl in. His father was in the front seat. He gave me a weird, creepy grin, but I still started to climb into the van. Out of nowhere, I heard my father shouting my name. I was pushed out by the kid, and he slammed the van door shut. The van sped off, and my dad ran towards me and hugged me.
Nah, why Caillou just try to violate him? Oh, you sick? Said the same exact. Why Caillou try to violate him like that?
After that, my family and my brother left the game. If my father didn't notice I had left the playground, or was a minute late, I don't know where I'd be right now. I just want to tell any parent who is either reading or listening to this, please, drill "don't follow strangers" into your kid's head.
Too true. Oh shit, it's true. Yeah.
This happened 6 years ago. I was home when I heard my doorbell ring, and it was my friend.
I will follow strangers, and you will never see the light of day again. You will never see the light of day again. You follow strangers.
Hello, I'm Jenny. This is a memory that I have from my childhood that still to this day I have no idea what it was. So, I was born in Texas, raised in Mexico, and my parents wanted me to stay in Mexico. I grew up with my grandma, but I never knew my grandpa at the time. But it was the first week of school, and I was 3 years old at the time and had to go to school. When I was in school...
I was thinking that they'll never see the light of day again. If you're by yourself and you walk into something, or you get kidnapped or anything, or go follow a stranger, and they lead you to more strangers, a group of them, there's no fucking way you escaping all of them. I'm sorry, that's so unrealistic. Like in those kidnapping movies, when those one people that be tied up and all of that, versus all them other people escape, that'd be fucking, that's cap. That's
and
cap.
finish my classes.
There's no way
I always
8 people fucking failed to capture one person.
went to these arcade games with some friends, but my grandma always got mad at me because I returned so late, like around 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., and I also had school the next day. One day, I went to school and then to the arcade games with my friends, and I'm not gonna lie, it was 1 a.m., and my grandma was waiting for me. But she said, if you return late again, the weeping woman will come and get you. Honestly, I never believed in anything paranormal or ghost, so I didn't care. For those who don't know, the weeping woman is a legend that goes on in Mexico, and in Mexico they call her La Loria. But she caught her husband cheating, so she grabbed her children and drowned them, and she also drowned herself. Damn. And there's a rumor that she can be heard at night crying, saying, "Where are my children? Oh, my children." So one day, it was a Friday, and I went to school as usual. My friend said if I wanted to go to the arcade games because they were going to celebrate one of my friend's birthday. So I did, and then it went past 12 p.m., and I told my friends I was leaving because I didn't want my grandma to get mad at me again. So I was walking, and in Mexico, there's not that much lighting, so it was pretty dark. I noticed that one of my friends that went to school was with a lady in a white dress, but she had long black hair and she was really pretty. So I passed them and said, "Good evening." But my friend and the lady didn't answer. I thought it was pretty rude, and they were walking to the very dark street. So I said, they probably having a bad day, and continue walking. So I went to
Can I follow her? Do you want to disappear? Okay, see, the other people you might be able to escape, but you're not escaping her. You're not escaping her. I'll give you a fucking Skittle packet if you win. If you win against her.
My grandma was sitting in the couch waiting for me as usual.
That's a whole spirit ghost.
But she didn't respond to me. She just stared at me.
Okay, bad.
So I took a shower and went to sleep. The next day, my grandma told me to go buy vegetables to make breakfast. So I grabbed the bag that she handed me and went to the...
Oh my God, bro. How you escape that fast? Where is it at? Alright, I got you. I got you. I got you. Alright, this should be enough for you to get you a pack of Skittles. Here. You got it?
Grocery store.
You good?
When I was in the grocery store, I was about to check out, and I saw a sign about my friend that I saw last night, and my friend was missing. And I asked the lady who was checking me out, "Ma'am, what happened to that kid that went missing?" She said, "This lady in a white dress with black hair took him to the lake and drowned him." My heart dropped, and then I said, "What happened to the lady?" She said, "The police was looking for her, but never found her. Also, there has been reports of kids going missing." I didn't know what to say, so I just paid the lady and grabbed the things I bought. I went home and told my grandma, was in complete shock. So then she said, "That happens to the kids that are bad. That woman is not human." So then I told my grandma, "Grandma, stop telling me those things. I don't believe in anything of that." I was getting a little mad, but she said this, "You'll see someday, and you will believe." So I went to my room and said, "Yeah, sure." At night, I finished my homework and went to sleep. But around 3 a.m., I was hearing a woman crying and screaming at the top of her lungs. So then I heard, "My children!" I got up, looked at the window. I couldn't believe my eyes. There she was. The same lady I saw with my friend was right there.
Damn, never mind. It's true
She
story. I
didn't
ain't
see
making no
me,
joke.
but she went to the very dark street that I saw her go with my friend that went missing.
Wait, give me 1 minute. Alright, bet I got you. There's no way this whole entire time I had it on fucking Among Us. Bro said 1 minute. And it's longer than a minute. Oh my god. I mean, he would never know if I press start, you know, like, he would never know. He would never know. But if I just, like...
Dang.
Fuck it, bro, I'm gonna wait. Is everybody asleep? Let me check. Everybody is completely asleep. Damn. Everybody's completely asleep. Bro, still not back. It's been a minute. It's been 3 minutes. Alright, bet.
I hid under my covers and fell asleep. In the morning, I told my grandma, and she believed me. I said, "Grandma, you're right. I saw her last night." She said, "I told you she's real." So then months passed and I haven't seen her. Unfortunately, my grandma passed away. In fact, I went back to Texas and stayed there. I'm 17 years old now, and I can't never get that memory out of my head.
Damn. What the fuck? A robbery. Alright, let's go watch this one, a robbery.
This happened 2 years ago when I was with my parents and siblings. We went out to go shopping. The time we came back, it's about 9:30 p.m. because usually the mall closed at 10 p.m. When we got back home, we were shocked to see what happened to our house. The whole house was like a mess. The windows were broke and the door were smashed through a hole in the middle. My father, who was a very good basketball coach, told me and my siblings to go in the car while my mother contacted the police. Later, the police arrived and they started to search for some clues because recently in our city there is a lot of house robbery going on. But then, this time, our house was robbed differently. The robber did not steal any of the money. In fact, they only steal our family photos.
What?
Our family photos were plain, and photo frame was made out of wood that my dad made it himself. Sooner or later, the police found a hole underneath our couch. They found out the hole was leading to an alleyway nearby. We have no idea how it got there.
Creepy. Anybody can go into their house.
A few weeks later, I was hanging out with my friends, and I was about to go back home. By the time it was 7:30 p.m. and it's raining. At that time, I was walking home because the place we chose to go to hang out was quite close to my house. It will take around 10 minutes to arrive at my house. So I walk home with an umbrella, and the time the streetlights weren't functioning, some were and some are not. As I was walking and I heard the notifications from my phone, and I saw my mom's text saying that I must come home now or no dinner for me tonight.
Damn.
So I quickly put my phone back in my pocket and started walking. But at that very moment, I saw a man. The man was holding a picture and was looking at me and the picture on and on. I stood there, thinking that someone was behind me, but no, it was only me and him. I stood there shivering my legs because I saw him holding a pocket knife like he was going to kill somebody. Suddenly, I remembered that there was another way to walk back to my house, but that road will take me 2 times as long as the road I was taking. But I wasn't hesitating, and I slowly back off. But when I moved just a bit, I saw him taking his move and started walking towards me. I was terrified, and I run home quickly, and I closed the umbrella just for some extra protection. The man was running very fast, but he couldn't catch me since I was the #1 female runner in my school. I quickly ran home and rang the bell. As soon as my mom opened the door, I quickly ran in and shut the door. My mother asked me, "What was that all about?" I told her to lock all the windows and the door, and I'll explain to her. After telling everything to her, she was shocked. She quickly called the cops, and they arrived shortly. They interviewed me, and they started searching for him. A week later, the police called us and tell us that they found him. He said that he was actually one of the citizens in our city. He have a lot of pictures of people's family photos. He told us why he wanted the photos, and the truth shocked me. Most of the family photos has red circles around young girl, and one of them is me. His plan were actually to kill young girls like me and steal every valuable thing we have, and he targeted young girls because young girls are easy to catch and rob. The police found out that he already targeted 7 young girls, and their bodies are buried beneath his house's backyard.
Damn.
We heard that the man was sentenced to 25 years of prison for breaking into people's houses and murdering. Until this day, the sight of the man holding the knife chasing me was still unforgettable. I really hope he won't return.
The abandoned boathouse, okay.
This story goes way back to 1998, when I was 16 years old.
Godzilla.
I was hanging out with a couple of friends of mine.
We're gonna play Among
who I
Us
would call
again.
Ben and Jake. It was a late summer evening on a Saturday, and I was sitting in my room listening to some 80s.
I mean, I could play a couple matches before I
rock
stream.
albums.
So I might have to get off soon because I got like a couple of places that I gotta go to. So I could watch like 2 more videos after this, and then we can run up Among Us.
As teenagers would normally do back then. After a while, I got bored and went outside to meet up with my friends. We ended up chilling in Ben's garage, drinking beer and smoking pot. I can't remember exactly how, but we wound up walking down this narrow path by the woods and towards the lake. I guess we got bored of sitting around and went out to go do something. So back in '98, there was this popular hangout spot for teenagers in my neighborhood. So we were hoping to see some other kids there. But when we arrived, we were met with nothing but the sound of crickets. Bummer. So we sat on the bench for a while and just talked for about 15 minutes. Then Jake got the idea to go to an abandoned 2-story boathouse that was by the lake. We had nothing better to do, so we agreed. We soon entered the boathouse and started to explore. I just sort of stood there while Jake and Ben were going around breaking shit. I felt very uncomfortable, and I couldn't quite shake the feeling that we were being watched. We went upstairs where there was an old wooden boat lying there with a fishing net over it. While checking it out, from downstairs we all heard the wooden door to the boathouse creak open.
Hell no.
Followed by heavy footsteps. We all froze in place and listened carefully. There was around a 5-second break when we heard a terrifying voice call out to us.
I know you're here. Come out. Come out, wherever you are.
The heavy footsteps started to walk towards the stairs as the old floorboards creaked and moaned. Jake went inside the wooden boat, and Ben and I followed. We put the fishing net over our heads and didn't move. The footsteps soon reached the top of the stairs.
I can hear you.
We were all as still as cadavers as we sat there and listened to this deranged person stumble around, looking for us. I contemplated a plan of escape without being caught, but there was just no way for the three of us to make it past him. And he was closing in on us. We were literally like sitting ducks. The man moved out of sight when he entered a small room adjacent to the boat. We suddenly ripped off the fishing net and made a break for it.
There you are.
Oh, what the
fuck? The man said as he emerged from the room and rushed at Jake.
No!
But Jake reacted very quickly and shoved the man, sending him toppling over. We all ran like hell out of there and through the tall grass into the woods. We heard the man give chase, but he eventually gave up. We all went back to Ben's garage and fell onto the couch in exhaustion. Jake then told us that he saw a knife in the man's hand as he fell over. Ben and I sat there in utter shock. Did that fucking maniac really plan on killing us in that old boathouse? To this day, I can't help but wonder, what would have happened to us if Jake hadn't reacted so quickly?
It would have been over with for y'all. Just know that. Would have been over with. True hotel lockdown story.
I'm 30 years old, but this happened to me when I was 19. I was staying in a hotel because I was visiting a university that I wanted to attend. After I unpacked everything, I went out to a restaurant to eat and then came back again around 8 p.m. I was checking out Instagram while laying down in bed. About an hour later, a strange alarm started going off in my room, along with a white light flashing in the corner of the ceiling. A message started repeating, saying something along the lines of,
hotel rooms got control over the TVs? Like they can add their own custom words to
remain
it?
in your rooms. This is a lockdown. I had never heard of a lockdown in a hotel room before. I didn't know hotels had alarms like this. I found it more interesting and exciting than anything else. Eventually, the alarm stopped, but the light kept flashing, and the message kept repeating every 20 seconds. It was only like 9:30 p.m., so I decided to switch on the TV for some background noise while I was getting ready for bed. I shut the light off when I was done and laid down and watched TV for about a half an hour before turning it off. The light in the corner of the ceiling, along with the message, was definitely going to disturb my sleep. I was thinking of calling the reception to see what was going on. A minute later, the phone started ringing, so I picked it up, and it was the reception. I was expecting them to tell me something about the alarm and when it would shut off, but instead, the person on the other end spoke in a very concerned voice. She told me to remain calm and walk out the door. So I took that opportunity to
You making me less scared and scared, so it don't matter.
inquire about what was going on. She told me that there was someone in the room with me and to get out immediately. I got off the phone and started looking around everywhere. Part of me was in the fact curious to see if someone was actually in the room. I checked under the bed and the bathroom, but nobody was there. Then I noticed a closet next to the bathroom door. It was one of those closets with a wooden sliding door. It was open just a tiny bit, and through that tiny crack, I could see a person. At first, it wasn't really sinking in what I was seeing, but when the door slid shut, that was when I freaked out and ran out the door. The people at the reception desk showed me some security cameras from an hour earlier of some sketchy-looking man walking around looking for a room. When he got to my room, he opened it with a card he somehow got, and that was it. I stayed around as the police came and took the person out. It was a man with brown hair, a top, and shorts. He looked like he was in his 40s, and he looked at me as he passed, as if he knew who I was immediately. It's scary thinking back that he might have been watching me for over an hour in that closet. Who knows what he would have done to me if I didn't get out of my room that second.
Alright, one more. True eBay story. I kind of want to hear this. eBay kidnap.
When I turned 18, my parents literally kicked me out of the house. I come from Nigeria, Africa, but I was born in the US. My parents did give me enough money to rent a small house, so I worked at a restaurant, but I also wanted to make some extra money on the side. So I used eBay. I don't know if you're familiar with that app, but you can sell stuff you don't need anymore. I had some stuff I wore when I was about 13 or 14, so I posted them to sell on eBay. Shortly after, someone contacted me and said they wanted to buy my items. We talked about the price, but he also didn't have a profile, so I didn't really know the gender of the person. I just assumed it was a girl or a parent who wanted to buy something for their teenage kid, but I didn't really think much of it. This person wanted to come over on Saturday at 7 p.m. My friend also was coming over around the same time, so it didn't bother me since this person was just going to take the clothes and leave. On Saturday around 6:45, I heard a knock at the door. I opened the door to see a 6'5" man standing with blonde hair and blue eyes, well-built and casually dressed. We stared at each other for about 10 seconds, and then he asked, are you the girl selling the clothes? I nodded yes and let him in. Are you home alone? He asked. No, my dad is upstairs. I answered, but it was a lie. I was not going to tell a stranger that I was home alone. I mean, that's stupid. He asked other weird questions, like when I was going to be home alone, or if my dad was a deep sleeper. I answered mostly with lies. I got the clothes out quick, just to get rid of him and his questions. I gave him the clothes. He told me that the clothes were nice and nodded with agreement. He told me he would give me $300 more than the actual amount. I was pleased, and when he asked if he could use the bathroom, I said yes, because I didn't want to seem rude. But 10 minutes passed and he was still in the bathroom, so I went upstairs to check on him and asked why he was in there so long. On the way, my bedroom door burst open and someone began choking me. I tried to fight back, but it was useless. Slowly, everything blacked out. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, and there was my friend and my parents. I asked them what happened, and my friend started to explain that when she saw a guy carrying me to a car, she became confused, so she called me. When I didn't pick up, she took a picture of the car just in case. So when the car left, she went around to my house and saw my phone ringing on the couch. That gave her chills because she knew I didn't go anywhere without my phone, not even to my neighbor's house.
Damn, she
instantly
better forever thank her best friend.
Called the police. When they arrived, they saw that a car was parked in front of a house. When they went inside, they saw the eBay dude and 5 other men touching me in a way they shouldn't while I was still blacked out. After that, they brought me to the hospital. And then the police came in and told me something terrifying. Yes, these men are in jail now, but in the house that they lived in, they found pictures of me doing different activities. And in a drawer of a closet, they found pictures of different black women. When the officers asked where these women were, They said that they were already dead. I'm just so glad I didn't decide to cancel my outing with my friend, or else I would have ended up just like these women.
Alright, yeah, we could get on right now if you want to.